Hi, everyone. This is Norman Kochnick here on Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochnick. And I'm very excited. This is going to be called episode 14, which will be an Aussie and a Pom talking all things cricket from India. The reality is it's more than that now. Chris is certainly with us, certainly by way of name. He's let's call it straight as it is. His father, Richard Vernon, is here, also known as Barnstead or Banstead boy or Barnstead.
Banstead boy.
B-A-N. Banstead boy. Okay.
Banstead
boy.
Up from
welcome, Richard.
Sorry, say again.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And we've also got we know him as Munchie. He's been our weather girl, our weather boy, whatever you want to call him.
You don't want to see me in his dress, mate. Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm expecting that on one of the episodes we'll get you in a dress. It's a lippy.
I've done pantomime in the past as a dame. It wasn't pretty. Yeah.
Also known, now reveal your full name to the viewers, Munchie.
Full name is Marcus Lawrence.
Exactly, Marcus Lawrence, better known as Munchie. Thank you,
Actually,
both guys.
I was about to say, Norman, sorry. The derivation of Munchie is actually short for Munchkin. When I was playing cricket, the guys in the wicketkeeper and the slips used to wind me up because I was the shortest opening bowler in the league. I'm only, 5'7", 5'8". So, of course, it was, come on, Munchkin, and that just got shortened to Munchie. Yeah, I was like, oh, thanks, guys. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, it's a great nickname. So let's get it clear up front. You both know each other very well. What is your stories? How did you know each other, and what's happened there?
Well, I'll start then. I grew up in Kent, and I used to play village cricket. So I know what a proper green top is. This is a green top with sheep shit all over it. Yeah, that's proper village cricket. Late teens, I then moved to senior leagues. So that's the same league that Chris plays in on a Saturday, and then there's a Sunday league as well. So I played that for a number of years. Now, perhaps not at the same level that Chris is, because obviously Chris is playing for MCC, second 11. But it did suddenly remind me this morning, I did actually play one game for the Kent over 50s, but this was actually when I was a 30-year-old, and they was one short, but they must have known I had some sort of talent.
You've always been, haven't you, really, Munchie?
But while I was there, I think it was back in the mid 90s, we had this left-hander come to join us with his lovely family, the two little boys and beautiful wife. Introduced himself as Richard Vernon. He said, people also call me Radio. Then we also found out, because when we're playing the game, you'd have this 100 over commentary, whether we're in the field or batting, there's this in your ear all the time. Yeah. But of course, loved Richard from the start. We had a great relationship, and you'll see on the comments as well, there's lots of banter between us. And obviously watching Chris growing up as well has been a great privilege, just to see his talent. But yeah, I certainly didn't play to the same level that Chris has. But while playing at Old Stations, or it's now Ashford Town, we played against the likes of Mark Elam, Justin Langer, Eldine Baptiste. This is obviously names going back into the 90s. And my claim to fame was Richie Richardson. He came over. Sorry, mate.
It didn't take you long to get this one in.
I'm going to let you take over after that. Yeah. But back in the mid-90s, there was a gentleman called David Folb started a celebrity cricket team called Lashings, which evolved, majorly. Brought lots of, I think Shane Warne played, lots of Test players have played for them. But in the early days, he brought over Richie Richardson, and we played them the first year in a friendly. He smashed 150 against us. Lovely man, very respectful. And actually, one time they'd smashed 300. It was just a Sunday afternoon game. One of our players had gone out to do umpire at square leg with a pint of beer. Richard stopped the game, come over him, had a word. The guys walked to the boundary, put the pint down. And when he came off later on, we said to him, what did Richie say? He said, well, good man, I know this is just a friendly game. It's just a draw, but we still play the game. We drink after. And I thought, oh, what a gentleman. But then when Richie came back the following year, I've done my normal warming up and laps and things. As when we had Shripali on the last time, I went through my warm-up routine. Very first ball of the game, just a little outswinger outside the off stump, and Richie's snagged it edge straight behind. First first ball of the game, Richie Richardson, not even a golden duck, a royal duck. But then our Aussie came over, Tony Brown, who actually used to open the batting for Valley Cricket Club in Queensland with Matthew Hayden. He's come running over and uttered the immortal line, "I've travelled 18,000 miles to watch Richie Richardson bat, not to watch you effing bowl." So that kind of brought me down a few notches. But yeah, but I love the game. I've been lucky enough to play cricket in obviously England, the Netherlands, and America, which is the picture behind me. Actually, people can see it. That's me batting at the Philadelphia Festival, which is a great place. And I've been able to visit South Africa, the West Indies, India, where I've met great people watching the game. And that's why I think this is a great forum. So, Reg, all yours, sir.
It's such a long answer. I forget what the bloody question was, Munchie.
Just quickly, before you go on, Richard, Lushings, go through that again. It was, when did it first start? In 1990s?
It was in the 90s. Lashings started as a Mexican restaurant in Maidstone in Kent, and it was owned by a gentleman called David Folb, F-O-L-B, who's a millionaire. And they used to play a lot of the games in Sutton Valence School, which is where Chris went to school. And it was basically a celebrity 11. Think of the Harlem Globetrotters for basketball, and he tried to develop that for a cricket team. So people would engage the cricket team if they wanted to do fundraisers and things like that. And he used to have test players all over the place. If you go to the website, I've not looked at it for a long time.
I've heard all about it. I know what Lushings is.
Yeah.
But I didn't know when it started. I thought it was older than that then.
No, it was back in the mid-90s, but Richie Richardson was their first main player. He came along with his son, Harry, who's a lovely lad. And then Eldine Baptiste came over. Oh, sorry, yeah, with the Royal Duck, I forgot to mention that Eldine Baptiste then came into bat after that and then smashed us around the park. So the privilege of getting Richie Richardson for the first ball was there, and it's always in black and white. But, Eldine Baptiste dispatching us to all parts of the ground afterwards was a very painful memory. Yeah.
Well, we've got a new member. FS is a new member. He's just joined. Became a YouTube member. That's great. And I'm guessing that he's saying a lot. Now, just quickly, we've got everyone saying a lot of both Munchie and Barnstead Boy. We've got Lakshmi saying Anshuman Galton, who is actually the real
Music Harmony.
Music Harmony, yep, correct. And Arun Singh is saying, great to see both of you put together. And even your son there, Richard, a good start for you to talk. Hope they have a good show. Hope they behave themselves. Well, it's great. Chris has been fantastic. You both know how I met Chris through the SCG11. He played for the MCC. We started talking on various social media platforms. I told him what I was doing. He said, why not give it a go? And here we are, 14 episodes later. It's emerged having both of you. Now, Richard, do you want me to call you Richard, or what do you want me to call you?
Well, most people call me Reg.
Reg?
Which was a nickname I got whilst playing with Munchie over at what is now Ashford Town. So Reg is fine, but whatever. I'll answer to anything, really.
Yeah, that's true. That is honestly true, yes.
I'll give a little bit more on Lashings. After he started it, and it started slowly, he developed it into basically a celebrity international cricketers 11 that travel around. They played load of county and games where you hire them to come and play at your club for charity and raise money for your club as well. And crikey, he had Curtly Ambrose playing for him, Graham Hick, Tendulkar came over, Brian Lara I think came over and played.
Gordon Greenwich as well.
Greenwich, Gordon Greenwich definitely played, but he was always injured, as you know. Very dangerous man on one leg. And it's just the side that he could put out was just unbelievable. Tino Best, I remember, playing at Sutton Valence School once, back when he was still playing proper cricket. And he came and played.
Fantastic.
Just great. So can I just say that there's much more love going on for Munchie on messages. So I've got my tablet next to me here. I can see the messages coming in. Than is for me. And is that because you're better looking, Munchie, or just younger?
Both. But I think it's people realise they can see my background there. Yes, Mano John, great to see you, mate. But trust me, you do not want to see what's actually behind me. It's just chaotic. So I thought I'd give you a cricket background. But there should be a lot of love for Reg because we have had great fun in the past. We've had some absolutely amazing innings batting together. I was very much an all-rounder, opening batting and then opening bowler, batting, middle order, and now I'm just all-round. Yeah, just that's a retirement for you.
Makes more than one of you.
Yeah. But Reg and I, we've had some awesome innings together because he will tell you he'll be there. His pads were more knocked in than his bat. Yeah. But we had a great time, and that's what to me cricket is all about. It's having fun at the same time, and certainly the banter in the outfield. And I think when I look back now, I think, well, I was that spitting, fire-breathing dragon opening bowler that everyone is. And you look back at the time at some of the things you may have said to batsmen, and you think, no, you should be enjoying the game. Yeah, enjoy it, because once you finish, you're more retired than you are playing the game. And obviously, my knees are shot to pieces now, unfortunately. But yeah, it's just lovely having this continual banter with the likes of Richard all the time, and I miss that.
Can I ask?
Well, you're going to have it here, I'll tell you.
Norman, I'd like to answer the first question of the day on the messaging there from Shunham and some Galton. Sorry, I've only got bifocals on, so I have to do that to read the questions. I'd like to say, in answer to his question, it is definitely coming home.
Are we talking about the Ashes?
Oh no, well, they're coming back, but the football is definitely coming home.
Wow.
I'll be a bit more perspective on that. Denmark are a very good side. Spain and Italy are both very good sides. And when it comes down to league football, the best teams win the league, lucky teams win the cup. So we just need to be lucky.
Yeah, but Marcus,
so who's left? There's Spain, correct? Italy,
Denmark.
England, Denmark.
Yeah.
And England should knock Denmark off, you would think, wouldn't you?
Yeah. You would think so if you look at the rankings, but then it's a one-off game and stranger things have happened. Yeah.
True. But that, I mean, do you want to, I mean, you're obviously going to watch that match, aren't you? We should do a UEFA Cup special specifically before the match.
European Championships, normally you don't get those over where you are, afraid. This is proper stuff. UEFA Championship. It's European Championships. It's a big thing.
Yeah, I'm sure. No, but okay. The thing is, it's something I love all this. You guys don't know what this is going to be. We're going to look back in a year's time, and we'll have probably done about 100 videos together. I can see that happening with both the India-England series, obviously the Ashes. I'd love to see you guys come to Australia. Have you both been to Australia?
I was in Australia in a 90.
Yeah.
We came
1990.
Yeah.
Right.
We
That's
came
a while ago.
Banstead toured Australia back in 94, I think, 93 or 94.
Well, you're both due to come out again then, is what you're telling me, effectively. So we'll look at that in the future. I'm going to be coming to your shores definitely in 2023, middle of 2023 with the Ashes. I believe it's the Ashes return, isn't it? Mm-hmm. We're going to be there. I'll be probably going to play the MCC again with the SCG11. There'll be something on there. So I'll definitely be there as well. And who knows what else. So this is a great show. I hope Chris is happy that, I mean, he's done a great job. He's got so many fans now. You both know that. So many people ask him. It's not funny. So we'll look forward to that. Okay, we've got our introductions out of the way.
Well, let's give Richard a chance to talk about his cricket pedigree as well. Yeah,
of course.
I did waffle. Chris's mission actually said to me, "If you keep talking, Marcus, then Dad can't speak."
But come on, Richard. I'm sorry to not include you in your background. Tell me about because obviously your son's a great cricketer. Tell us about your cricketing scores, prowesses.
I don't have too much of a background. I joined Banstead Cricket Club, which is Surrey Championship, back in the early 80s as a colt. Played there until I moved to Kent in 1997. I played Surrey Championship first level cricket and second level cricket and third level cricket and fourth level cricket because I wasn't very good at any of it. Came down to Kent, lucky enough to move nearby to where the cricket club was. Met up with Munchie and the boys. I think we played about 7 years together in the first team, give or take, before my cricket had to give up because I've been blagging it for about 30 years. And everyone caught up with me at the end. I couldn't actually hold a bat. I certainly couldn't bowl or catch. So So now I'm retired, Norman. I'm a much better player than I ever was when I was playing. God, you should hear my stories how good I was.
Well, what's annoying, Norman, and I'm surprised that Reg hasn't mentioned this, and we'll get onto the questions because there's some great questions coming through as well, is that as the opening bowler, you're always sweating, trying to get wickets and wickets and wickets, and then you'll bowl your overs, and then the skipper will come on, and there'll be some gentle medium pace or an off spin, and batsmen are knocking the ball to the boundary. We played one game, and same again, I'd bowl very economically, didn't get many wickets, and Richard's come on to bowl, and the English expression, I don't know if guys in India have the same one, it's called pie chucker.
Oh.
And it's chicken and mushroom, it's steak and kidney, these things going up in the air. But actually, Richard, to his claim to fame, he does actually have a league Michelle. He has a fifer, and it just shocks me every time I think about it. Yeah,
I would have you know, just a minute that we scored about 270 batting first that day, and the opposition, if I remember rightly, were about 151 chasing. And it needed some crafty left arm spin or slow bowling, as other people that took 5 for 30, I think, Norman.
It wasn't Axar Patel, was it? No.
And the only thing I would say is I got right was I got my 2 best catches, one at deep mid wicket and one at long on.
That's clever field placement. That's
where they took the catches. So.
But obviously, your son, Chris is a really good cricketer. Now, you must have had a bit to do with his cricketing prowess because you would have, I guess, been his first coach.
Well, yeah, I suppose so. He used to come and watch me play from a very young age because I don't know if he's told you this. He bats left-handed. You've probably seen it.
Yeah. But
he isn't a left-hander. He's right-handed at everything. He's just a right-hander. But he copied me. I'm a left-hander. I'm a complete left-hander. Do everything left-handed. And he copied me when he was 3 years old because little kids, they copied their parents. So he bats left-handed just by copying what I did.
Really?
His strong hand, his right hand's on top of the bat. I'm not talking too much technical stuff for people who are watching. But yeah, so his top hand is his strong hand, which means he doesn't play the shovel shots like you see a lot of people when they call it all bottom-handed, when they drag it all to mid-wicket. He's very elegant. He's very more like David Gower, you'd say. He's very elegant through the covers. He drives it a lot down the ground.
But can he bat right hand as well? Can he bat if he had to?
I don't think so. I don't think he's ever tried. I haven't seen him do it. He may be able to, but he seems to do most things. I mean, he bowls right-handed. If you've ever seen him bowl,
I've seen him there. Yeah.
But then Jimmy's the same, is it? Jimmy will bowl right-handed, but bats left-handed. And there's actually a school of thought, as Richard was saying about the dominant hand, that as a batsman you should be driving the ball, so your top hand should be the more, the better hand for driving the ball. So therefore, if you are right-handed, why don't you bat left-handed? And if you're left-handed, why don't you bat right-handed? Because your top hand should be the one that's been the dominant for driving the ball around. So it works well for Chris. Yeah.
And what happened with Chris was I got him into local coaching when he was 7. They had a local course, and he then got into the local district side. And I wrote a letter to Ken when he was 9 and said, look, I've got a lad here who you might want to have a look at. And they picked him for the game. Kent under-9s. Kent on an under-9 side then when they used to have a bit of money. And we played against Surrey and he got picked. I hadn't seen him. They didn't know who he was. And they picked him to play against Surrey under-9s. And he never looked back. I don't think he just didn't not play from that until up to 11. He played for 10 years, basically, non-stop. Never stopped playing.
So the membership of the MCC, how did that come out? You're an MCC member as well?
No, I'm not. Chris, you can apply for membership, a playing membership, Chris. And then you have to play a certain number of games over a 2-year period. I think I'm right in saying, I think you have to play 20 games over maybe a 4-year period, where they assess your abilities, match reports, and if you meet the qualifying criteria after that, you can become a full member.
Wow. I didn't know that.
You can apply for a non-playing membership. I think it's a 20-year wait.
Higher, 32.
32 year. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but luckily, Chris, you know, he's a good cricketer. I hope he's listening. He'll be very upset me
Well,
talking.
he messaged before, so I'm sure he will.
Yeah, won't be happy me spouting on about him. But what I wanted to say about him, and look, I'm going to upset Kent here. I thought some of the coaching at Kent was rubbish. I was lucky enough, thanks to a friend of mine called Mark Williams, who won't be watching, but I'll give him a shout out anyway. We were playing a Kent under 17 game, I think it was under 17s, maybe under 16s, and he told me that he had a contact with a guy called Gary Palmer, who ran a private academy and coaching, and I got onto that. Gary Palmer is probably the best coach in the country, certainly in my opinion, but be arguably so because he's the man behind Alistair Cook and Don Sibley.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's the one who's given credit for Alistair Cook.
Well, I mean, if you look at Chris Batt, there's a bit of Alistair Cook about him, isn't there?
Well, possibly, but we did 2 years with Gary Palmer over quite a long way away. We used to go every week throughout the winter, and then he played for Gary Palmer's academy side against a load of county second 11s. And Gary Palmer is a fantastic man and a brilliant coach, absolutely brilliant. And I'd say that Chris's development and game is due to that, really.
That's fantastic.
Excellent.
And if you look at Chris now, I mean, he he still could. He's reaching. He played for Duke of Norfolk's 11.
Yeah, got back off, unfortunately. About halfway through the first innings yesterday.
Oh, right.
It's unfortunate. He could do more runs, Norman. You need to perk him up. He could do some more runs, that's for sure, in the league.
Well, I mean, he had that Lord's match, didn't he? And he got 50 odd there. He did well in that match.
Yeah, but you know what cricket's like. You're only as good as your last innings, which is why Marcus is crap, like me.
Well, I watched him. I watched Chris play because he's on those YouTube live streams to all the matches for Seven Oaks Lion, and he's on all those games, and he's obviously opening up and gets a few runs there. So I have seen him a fair bit in that. So that's been
I think he'd like
excellent as well. All right, let's have a look at some of the
questions. Yeah. There were some questions earlier, Norman. So my World 20 semi-finalists: India, Pakistan, England, West Indies. That's my semi-finalists in the T20 World Cup. And Vasanth was asking about how England can win in Australia. It's going to be an interesting series as far as I'm concerned. I think it's going to be a battle between two weaker sides. The reason I say that is I don't think England's batting is solid at the moment. Now, I know Richard was talking about Dom Sibley, but his technique worries me. The same with Rory Burns. I think it's because there's so much going on. There's too many moving parts. Whereas you look at traditional and classical batsmen, someone like Alistair Cook, in Australian conditions, they can be solid, like Jonathan Trott, solid, and then they're just going to score a mountain of runs. I just don't see people who give me the confidence at the moment that could keep out the Australian attack. I'd like to think that someone like Zach Crawley will come through, and because he's a classic,
he's batting technique with Australia for sure.
But if you take Labuschagne or Labuschagne, however you want to pronounce it, and Smith out of the side, I think Australia's batting is average. The bowling, you could say it's starting to wane as well. Stark's elbow, I think he's changed his action a little bit, but that's going to give him problems. I think Hazelwood and Cummins are probably the dominant bowlers for them. Lathan Lyon, has he got one more series in him? I don't know. And then you look at the England bowling. I love Jofra Archer, I really do, but I think he was over bowled in the last New Zealand tour, and I think that's where all his elbow injuries are coming from. And then you've got Jimmy and Broad. They know how to bowl in Australia, but that Kookaburra ball, well, I've made my comments online quite well known about my feeling for the Kookaburra ball compared to the Dukes. And I don't, you look at Ollie Robinson, you look at Mark Wood, and you think, well, okay, well, there's some steady bowlers there, but is it strong enough to really beat the Aussies as well? So it's going to be an interesting match down there, Vasanth, but I can't call it one way or the other at the moment.
Nilakshi's asking, Richard, when did you retire?
I stopped playing cricket properly, I guess, about 10 years ago. I was playing league cricket up until about the age of 44, 45. So unfortunately, I know I don't look it, but I'm 55 this year. So yeah, it's a long time. Seems a long time. playing.
I'll get you out of retirement and play with, certainly.
There's an interesting question from Sumath there about the New Zealand pitch goes on improving for batting. Well, if you look at Headingley's a classic in England, and you only got to look at the last Ashes series as well. That final day innings by Ben Stokes, that pitch was almost a road. And it really comes down to the conditions and obviously the way that the groundsmen prepare the pitches. Okay, guys, I'm not going to talk about Indian pitches, but in England in particular, we need the pitches to last 5 days because we want the crowds in the ground. So generally, you'll have some grass on the wicket to stop the wickets crumbling. So therefore, generally, you may find the first day is better for batting, second day a little quicker, but then the pitch is just deadened because they keep being rolled, and because the grass in them, and certainly early season where it's quite damp as well. Yeah, if it's drought conditions, you may get them breaking up, but generally the wickets will retain their stability as such, which makes them better for batting later on. So probably the same in New Zealand as well.
Yeah, I'm with Munchie here. I've seen a lot. I followed this feed, Norman, as you know. Started it pretty much with Chris, and I've seen a lot of absolute nonsense written by some of the Indian particular fans. We do not prepare green wickets here. The ECB have no say on what the groundsman particularly. They cannot tell the groundsman to prepare a dodgy wicket in this country. It does not happen. What happens is the ECB will say, we want a wicket that's going to last for 5 days so that we can get 5 days of test cricket for the revenues. So they do not want to see 3-day test matches. It's the last thing they want, because they would have sold tickets for days 4 and 5. Bear in mind, we get good crowds in this country, and they have to give refunds if they don't last that long.
It's just the difference in the models, isn't it? It's obviously, I think India is predominantly television rights. England, yeah, a match at Lords is going to cost you £100 plus for a day ticket, and yeah, they'll want that game 5 days. But that was just answering the question regarding why the pitches go better and last for the 5 days in New Zealand and England. Probably just a bit more grass on the wicket.
I think what concerns me is we tend to look for the negative in any pitch, look for the negative in each country. I don't think any country goes out of their way to really have too much bias. They want to play decent cricket as well. So there's really a strength of spirit with cricket. I don't see any country or any ground being doctored in any way to the extreme where they would favour another side, because it just would spoil it. And I think most cricket purists exist in India, Australia, England, and New Zealand. They wouldn't allow that. Even Pakistan wouldn't allow that. It's not their caper, really.
And I think we had a great discussion on the pink ball test, and certainly Anshuman was very vocal on this, and I agree with him. I think it was more the ball than it was the pitch. Yeah. That pink ball that just had so much lacquer, and I think all the wickets that Axar Patel were getting, generally the ball didn't turn. It was just skidding on. The England batsmen were trying to play for the spin, but there wasn't any. They just didn't bat very well. And so and then you look at the 2-day pitch. Hey, yeah, I'm not going to go into that. I'll leave the media to do that. But it was just different countries. But England batting, when it came against the spin, they were like a rabbit in the headlights at times, thinking the ball was going to be spitting and jumping. And whereas the Indian batsmen played a lot better. We had Root, we had Leach, we had Bess. You look at Rishabh Pant, just destroyed the England spinners. And so it comes down to the batting quality. So, no, I think we need to look at the balls. My favourite subject, cricket balls, and then we just keep with. I prefer the Duke style of standard. Ashwin prefers that style as well. And I think talking about the bowling attack for India, people are saying that should they need Jadeja and Ashwin? Well, you could play Jadeja as a batsman that can occasionally bowl if you need him, but I think you need Ashwin in the side. Don't get caught up in bowling the seam bowlers, because if you have a spin bowler of the quality of Ashwin, you've got to play him.
And I think Siraj is, to me, the only inclusion other than Gill. Clearly, Gill's out there. Like Agarwal will probably going to go first. I'm assuming. But otherwise, I think Siraj has to be found for him. That's the one place that I think needs to be changed. in the side.
Yeah. And I think Bahram needs to be careful about talking about grass in Singapore. I know what it's like in there in terms of the penalties for drugs in Singapore. And it's a lovely
I think
place.
you mean something a little different type of grass. Yeah, something that's not necessarily on the ground, or maybe you're on the ground after you've been near it. Okay.
I'd like to ask a question of everyone, because I was doing a little bit of research earlier on, because I was thinking, well, hang on, England are now playing, or finished beating up Sri Lanka. There was a crazy series. We're now playing Pakistan in a series of 2020s and one-dayers. And I thought, well, okay. And then we've got, hang on, what's it now? So we've got the county championship and the T20 going on till July. Then the 100 goes on from the end of July until mid-August. Then we've got our T20, and then the Indian series doesn't kick off until the 4th of August. Do the guys know what what India are actually doing between now and the 4th of August, please? I couldn't find any details.
I want you all to say hello to this lovely lady, this lady called Mali Esther. She is.
Hello, Mali.
She is Sri Lankan. Is a movie star in Sri Lanka. Good friend of Shripali. So both of you.
Norman, is that the yoga lady?
Yes, I'll show you a picture of her. She's a magnificent lady. Great to see her. She'll hopefully come as a host one day. She's a star in the making there in Sri Lanka. All right. Just quickly, Munchie. Don't forget, you've only got half an hour or so, Munchie, but you can come back every day you want to from now on. You're invited whenever you want to come back. So don't feel a compulsion to say everything up front, because you got oodles of time. You two are going to be a part of the India versus England series when the Ashes come around. Obviously, we're going to throw in Simon Willis, David Graveney, and a whole host of other people. You know, your Monties, your you name it. Adam Hollyoaks, perhaps an occasional Alan Mullally. We might have him on as well. So.
No, to be fair with Spider, the session that he did when we were talking about swing and comparing the Dukes and the Kookaburra Ball, brilliant session. And for people that love the game and want to understand that, it's amazing, because people want to watch the game, but perhaps they don't understand some of the technicalities involved around spin bowling or seam bowling. Perhaps, get Monty to talk about the difference between when he's trying to create loop on the ball and the top spinner. But when you're talking about swing, which is what I was familiar with, it was just great listening to a pro just talking about it, because unless you're watching some of the Sky Sports and it's raining and then they've got to cut to a masterclass section, you generally don't know about that. And with the advent of super slow-mo, you can actually see that wrist and the ball spinning on its plane. I love listening to that.
And let's be honest, I mean, he is an incredibly good bowler, a great technician. He had Adam Gilchrist's measure. Nothing to be sneezed at all.
I'd like to just comment to Dalton. Munchie has got an excellent knowledge of cricket. I have got a good sense of humour, but I know a little bit as well. I'm just letting Munchie going in for the kill before I upset everyone with my comments.
Well, Munchie's got a half an hour. You've got as long as you want.
Yeah, I've got a day off.
Yeah.
We're going to have other guests coming on in the second hour. We're going to have some of the Indian contingent coming in. I want to let you guys loose for a good hour or so, and then we bring more people on. So, well,
I'd love to be on. If we can get Bahram, we can get Anjuman, Vasant, Manu, John. I think it was like a 10 limit. We've got to be careful on how many, but certainly it's been great for him. And I'll have to go in a couple of minutes, Norm. Thank you very much, and I'll catch you later, Reg. But it's been a great forum to meet people in terms of online and chatting to them. And we're all talking about our favourite subject, which is cricket. Now, we will all have slightly different views, but providing we all do it in a fun format and we're not insulting everyone, it's great to have an open debate. And I love what you've done for the game. Thank you, Norman.
Oh, look, it's a pleasure having you guys. And I'm so blessed to have people like yourselves, obviously Chris, Simon, David, who have been on the show for quite a while now. And you're a part of a family. And I call this a family. I'm doing this for the fun of it. There's another fellow who's actually on, who's just messaged now, is David Guinness Speak, who's from the Barmy Army. He's clearly watching now. He's watching.
Hi, David. We'll catch up soon. Yeah.
I'll bring David on. I'll bring David on another session as well, and we're going to bring in more Barmy Army guys. I think I can't wait for the Ashes series. That's going to be huge. Let alone, obviously, the India series is coming up very shortly. It's brilliant.
I can't wait for the India series. Just before I go, I can't wait for that India series. and it's crazy, this huge gap. Obviously England got the Pakistan series, and now at the same time we're going to have the 100, the Test series, and there's actually a new format as well, because the 100 has got this franchise cricket. I didn't realize until I was doing some checks this morning that there's actually a new competition where the first class counties are playing against the minor counties. So those players that are not involved in the 100 are also getting cricket. So it's going to be coming out of everywhere in England. So I don't know how much is going to be televised of that, but you're going to have 4-day games, 100, and the Test match going on. So it's going to be a very exciting time.
Madness.
Yeah.
So we might try and think about a UEFA video. We might go live for that somehow. I'm not sure, before or after.
Wednesday evening. European Championships, Norman.
There is normally alcohol involved, so it could be dangerous. Yeah.
All right, that could be very good. Could be a lot of fun. Okay.
Right, now I've got to go, Norman. Yeah. Richard,
Goodbye.
it's all yours now, mate. Love to see you. Norman, much appreciated.
Actually,
I love my mug.
brilliant.
Where's my mug? There's my mug. There's my mug. So I'll catch you all soon. Sorry,
There's
I didn't.
more
If I
gear
did,
coming. I've got more things coming.
I apologise if I didn't get to everyone's questions. Well,
I'm going
hopefully
to
we'll
get
cover that
spray
next time.
jackets for you guys too. Spray jackets.
Does it come in marquee size?
Yes.
Well, don't worry. If I fit into it, you fit into it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Love to all. Catch you soon. Bye.
Thanks, Munchie. That was great. Thanks for getting. You helped there, Reg. I think it was your effort as well, bringing Munchie on. How good was that? What a great way to start.
Yeah, Norman. I know he'll undersell himself a little bit, or be modest. He was a pretty tasty bowler, and he was a right moody bugger when he bowled as well. You just take my word for it. If anyone ever hit him for runs, you couldn't talk to him on his way back to his mark for the next ball. He had steam coming out of his ears.
I mean, to me, this is just lovely. I just loved the whole way that this is unfolding. It's like I'm taking photos of us, of course. But so I'm very impressed. I had this I didn't even know. I thought that you had MCC membership when it went through your lineage to Chris, but I didn't realise he actually. But can he now get you? He surely can get you MCC membership as a forwarder.
I don't think he can. I can certainly go to watch some MCC games as a guest at Lord's with him. He gets 2 tickets for every home test every day. I think he can apply for them. But I was.
So that's in the main pavilion.
Yeah, in the main pavilion. He's a member. Yeah, he goes and sits in the pavilion. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So he can bring guests into the main pavilion. Okay.
Yeah, he can apply. You apply for tickets. I think as a member, you can apply for 2 tickets per day. I think. I'm not sure you can get them. Depends. I mean, if we're playing, Australia, it's going to be a sellout. They do it on a lottery basis, I would guess. The bottom line.
Well, I'm an SCG member, so whenever you come to the SCG, you're going into members with me, without a doubt. And of course, the MCG and Adelaide Oval, I've got memberships there as well. So at various levels. So that's when you're in Australia, that's going to be a fait accompli.
I've got to say, Norman, you're putting out these invitations. There is every chance I will be coming over at some stage. My best friend.
Then you will get treated like royalty. You will go to Barrel. You'll go to the Bradman House, 52 Shepherd Street. Yeah. We'll play at Bradman Oval. Everything.
I've played at Sutherland before.
Yeah.
When we toured, we were obviously a main Surrey Championship club, so we were lucky enough to play at Sutherland, which was, I think, Glen McGrath's club, if I'm right in thinking. And,
exactly. Steve Smith's club as well.
Yeah, so I mean that's a lovely oval, as you call it, out there.
The little pavilion there, yeah.
So I was going to say my best friend and her husband, she lives out in New Zealand for 6 months of the year, on an island near Auckland. So I'm going to go out and maybe spend a couple of months out traveling around Australia and New Zealand maybe in the next 5 years.
Well, you let me know. You've got the right host. I tell you what, there's no one better who can take you around Australia, and we can meet everybody. With Neil Harvey still kicking on, go and visit him.
He was a proper player, Neil Harvey.
Yeah, 92 is. He's still going well. He's not really camera. I've got an incredible recording of him and me, but I can't release it. So, but it's amazing. So I'll try and get Neil one day. Jimmy Maxwell's another one who's a legend. All right. So now that I've got you on, now tell me the truth. How does Chris feel about this? Was he happy, reluctant?
He said good
jealous?
luck. sent me a message. He said, "Good luck. Don't make an idiot of yourself." So shows what high regard he's got for my cricketing views. And I've certainly got some controversial views, which I'm happy to share and be shot down by everyone on the messaging. Oh, Chris has put MCC is 10 games in 2 years, he says, and then you're assessed.
Oh, he's messaged you privately, has he?
No, he's on the chat. I've just noticed that on your chat messages there.
I can't. It must have been early on, was it?
No, it's just come in now. I think.
Okay.
Or up from the bottom.
Oh yeah, I see. MCC is 10 games in 2 years, where you're assessed then 20 games in 4 years. Yeah, as an initial member. Okay.
Yeah, and then
Very
Chris, lucky enough, I think I'm right in saying, I don't know if this is official or not, but I think it's fine to say that once you're a member, they then have a slight tier of membership where the better players are classified as the better players, and they can play in the more high profile, better level games, which are called the secretary games. So Chris, as you know, played a 3-day game up against Scotland, and he's played 3 days at the Parks last week, I think last week, the week before, against Oxford University. And, to play a 3-day match is quite a big thing. I mean, like me and you, Norman, I'm sure we just play 1-day games. I only ever
well, he got to play at Lords as well, which is a big thing.
Yeah, which was great. And he toured with the MCC as well to Mexico and Costa Rica, I think. Chris will tell me if I'm wrong. Which was great. I think that was 2.5, 3 weeks on tour, trying to spread the game worldwide. So
and Barbados, of course. Antigua as well. Was there a tour to Antigua? Well, that was not. That was MCC.
I mean, Chris has played cricket in Antigua, in the West Indies. He's played in South Africa. He's played in Australia. He's played in Holland. He's not played in India. So I imagine if there's anyone out there who wants to offer him a contract for a season to go and play in India as a pro, I'm sure he'll be absolutely delighted. He'll kill me.
I think Kolkata might be the place that he'd be most welcomed. I tell you, they love him in that part of the woods, including Nalakshi Sharma, who's on the line.
Nalakshi is far too beautiful for Chris, that's for sure. I've seen her. Stunning. I was going to say something to you, Norman. It's something you picked up. A couple of things you've said in the last few days that I was interested to say. This is just a small one. Before we go to India, the 100 competition. I know you're not a big fan of it. And
I'm not at this point.
As far as I understand it, this is they've tried to do this to bring cricket back to terrestrial television. Cricket in the UK has not been on television, free-to-air TV, since 2005.
Unbelievable.
Broadcast live was the Ashes 2005, which is the greatest series of all time. Don't argue with me, any Indian supporters. There's no doubt that was the greatest series of all time. Every test, just unbelievable. From McGrath slipping on a ball that let us back into the series, took him out to
amazing,
just awesome series. So what the ECB did, they wanted to regenerate. And I think they consulted with the BBC, and the BBC basically said, "How can we show cricket at prime time when we never know how long it's going to last? We've got a schedule. We're a big broadcaster. We're not like Sky and I have it does in Australia, where they just, if the game goes on too long, they just carry on broadcasting it. Whereas the BBC have got a fixed schedule with the soap operas and the game shows to play that people want to watch." They came up with a format where it's going to be time constrained to the 100 balls, and they know they can get it into, I think it's a 3-hour period. Game done and dusted, 3 hours start to finish. And they wanted to make it more comprehensible to, well, they said women and children, which caused a lot of fuss in this country in the media when they said that. But I imagine it's to try and bring it to people to come and enjoy the game, because we know the game to understand, don't we?
But do you think it's something that they want to then permeate through all countries, or is it something that you're saying is quirky to England, or what's going to happen there?
When 2020 started, I mean, I'm old enough to remember at the start, everyone was poo-pooing 2020 as a gimmick, and what a stupid idea, and it's taken off worldwide, hasn't it? I mean, if the 100 does prove successful, and let's face it, it's all the success is down to whether it makes money, because everything's money based, isn't it?
Yeah.
Then it might well be that it could go around the world. I mean,
okay, let me just make a comment to that. I don't think it's so much that I don't like the 100 as a concept. It's more, how many versions can you have before it becomes too many? That's what I'm worried about. I'm not saying on its own it's not got some merit, but you've got the 100, the 20, a possible T10 floating around, 50 overs, Test cricket. That's where the problem starts. You can't afford time-wise to fit them all in. And that's my concern, that we then squeeze out something that's more valued like Test cricket based on another version coming in. I mean, there's also this last man stands, which I have no time for anymore either. That's become, I know that the bloke that runs that very well, he's from South Africa originally. There's an England version of it. It's done very well around the world, but I think that's also pushing the boundaries too much. That's my thoughts.
Norman, I agree. I'm different. Okay, if you ever saw me play cricket, you know that I used to try and occupy the crease as long as I could. I like the skill factor. I'm not a massive 2020 fan. I mean, I love cricket, so I watch the 2020, but I prefer Test cricket. If you're saying to me what do I prefer to watch, watching the India-New Zealand World Test Championship final, and by the way, the best two sides were playing, without a doubt. The best, however they got there with the way it was worked out, the best two sides were playing in that final. It was in the absolute best country to have a great game of cricket because of the way the pitches work in England. It was the rain didn't help, but bloody hell, look at the game. What a great game it turned out to be in the end. It was damn exciting. Damn exciting.
True.
Sorry, India lost for the Indian supporters, but gosh, it was a great game.
Just quickly, I've just noticed that Baram, Irani, and Munchie's still online, by the way. He's answering questions.
He's a multi-millionaire, Norman. He didn't have to work at all. He just didn't want to spend time.
So he said generally he talked about the balls with Munchie and Baram about the Duke's balls. Just quickly, I just noticed another. I don't want to lose out some of the questions while we're talking.
Yeah,
there's one question there from. Let me look here. I think it's, and Kanch Chandra said about, he was talking about, I know he was a bit further up. He was talking about, let me get his question correctly. He was talking about he said the West Indies, Australia will smack the West Indies. I don't think that's the case at all.
Is that the West
Aussies? No, sorry, Aussies would sweep the Caribbean team like the Carib wins. The Carib wins. I don't think Australia's got it all their own way. I think West Indies are a lot better than you think, and Australia's really going through some confusing selections, to be honest. So Australia winning, sweeping Caribbean? No, I think so.
The West Indies over 50s that are playing at the moment in the 2020, or is it the absolute useless West Indies side that played in the last Test series against South Africa that absolutely got blown away by an average South African side on their own patch?
Well, the so-called older brigade of Gale and the like are still damn good cricketers. Let's be honest. They're damn good cricketers still. I wouldn't.
Yeah, how many old farts like me and you can you put up with because we still can bat a bit or bowl a bit in the before you've lost? Because if the West Indies go to the World Cup, which they're going to the T20 World Cup with Gale, Russell, Pollard, and Dwayne Bravo, who all are just mercenary now around the world, but don't want to run around the field. They don't really want to bowl too much either. Pollard's a reluctant bowler, is best. They're paid for money cricketers. They're great, that's great, but you put them all in one side. Who's going to run around? Who's going to do the fielding? Who's going to give the attitude you want?
It's true, but anyway, there's a bit of box office. We know, unfortunately, the word box office is relevant to them.
Watch Chris Gale bat and Pollard bat, but boy, they're not going to be very mobile, are they?
No, but I tell you what, would you go and watch Viv Richards bat at what is he, 60 odd? I would, just to see his swagger.
Just to upset Indian Indian supporters on here, my favourite ever cricketer was Brian Lara, the finest batsman I've ever seen. I can't include Bradman because we've only seen there's scant footage of Bradman batting, and it was a different era and it doesn't look great. It was a different time, but Brian Charles Lara, boy, oh boy, oh boy, what he did to the Australians back in 90, whatever, 3, 4 was it? Or
And the
99,
SCG.
where he basically won the series on his own. Did he get 150 not out and 200 to save
70
him?
on. Yeah.
Jesus. It was.
But then I've seen footage of Garfield Sober's bat.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, Brian Lara was great. I don't deny that. But Garfield Sobers, oh my God, he was something. He was something very, very, very special.
With some of the younger people watching, Garfield Sobers used to open the bowling for the West Indies and bowl at a pretty good lick, I would say, around about mid-80s. Big swing, used to swing it. And then he'd come back and bowl left-arm spin later on. It was brilliant. And he
could feel, he could catch as well. He was amazing.
Probably the greatest all-rounder ever. Not on the stats.
Absolutely.
Stats tell you that Jack Callis is the greatest all-rounder ever, I guess. But
I think Jack Callis was the best batting all-rounder, definitely. I don't know. I know his statistics show that he certainly was right up there. But
300 well, Norman. Jack Callis, wasn't it? 297? I might be wrong.
Yeah. He got a truckload of wickets. He did, but, you know, I'd throw Garfield Sobers in any day over the top of him. No that.
So would I.
It was 254, not 274, by the way. It's always okay. That was Ben McDermott, who is a relation to Craig McDermott.
Yeah,
will be playing. He's a value, especially in the batting. In fact, Ben McDermott might be a bit of a smoky to make the Ashes team as a lower order batsman, because at the moment they've got no one. Travis Head's not there. There's only really Warner and Pekoski will open probably with Labuschagne and Smith up in the top 4, but that's it. There's no one else certain in the rest of the Australian side. I mean, I love to see Khawaja. He won't come back. They might put Curtis Patterson in there. That's another person. But there's a big gap, and Ben McDermott might fill it, actually.
Let me just ask you a question, Norman, because this is something to pick up on that I heard you talking about yesterday, I think. Did you say that Australia's next test is against Afghanistan, and that Payne is captaining in that game?
Yeah, because it's I know you might think it's early to say that, but Tim Payne's going to be the captain for the Ashes series.
So he's gonna stay on for the Ashes series.
And this game's before that. It's in November. It's the first test of the summer. Played in Hobart, and that's Tim Payne's home state. There's a lot of good things about it, to be honest, as well as Afghanistan being his first test in that way. So
change. As captain, they would have done it for that, because you give the captain a game to settle in a little bit against what they hope would be an easy opposition before they've played the Ashes. So that means that Payne is going to stay on.
Oh, there's no doubt. There's little doubt about that now. Steve Smith is constantly in the paper saying that he will be the next captain, or he's pledging to be captain. But the reality is Smith is not going to be captain in any hurry.
You're wrong.
Why?
Wrong, Norman.
Why?
It's wrong. Steve Smith is absolutely going to be the next Australian captain. I would guess that they didn't put him in not going to put him in for this Ashes because of the furore that will be, and they'll bed him in quietly after the Ashes for whoever you've got up next. He goes to New Zealand, I think. I think you're right. I think you're off to New Zealand, are you? After the
but technically you're right that he's probably been the captain before, has all the credentials. He certainly will be in the side. There's no doubt about that. He's in the side, no doubt. Yeah. But I truly think they're going to hold strong about this. They're going to try and find another captain. Well, that's my thoughts.
Let me ask you something else, Norman. You've played cricket. You played club cricket, I guess, for most of your life. Would that be fair?
Yep.
Unlike a lot, and I'm sure the people who are watching now, I started playing club cricket in the men's teams when I was 14 till I was 45. So there you go, 31 years of playing cricket.
Well, I still play. I mean, I still play for the SCG 11. So
I play 3 or 4 times a week. So I played Saturday, Sunday, and I played representative Wednesday cricket and some Thursdays as well for representative side. So I was asked to play for. I was lucky. I'm telling you, and I know we're going back over old ground here. I'm telling you that if someone had been using sandpaper or anything like that on a cricket ball, the whole bloody team knew. There was no way that they. I know Smith got done, and I know they made the poor opening bat got clobbered, and Warner got clobbered. But I'm telling you, you wait for the real stories to come out in maybe 15, 20 years when they've all retired. They all bloody knew, Norman. Don't tell me you can be in that dressing room.
I know. I've got no doubts they all knew.
Yeah.
But Warner was the ringleader, and Smith let it happen.
But they said
Smith
nothing.
could have stopped it.
They said nothing, and they all denied it when they were asked that they knew anything about it afterwards. I don't blame them for that, by the way. But they all knew what was going on, and they're all therefore guilty by association with it.
But I tell you what, Warner was a bit okay. I do look. There's no doubt that Lehman knew. There's no doubt that Bancroft, Warner, and Smith knew. Who's the keeper? Who was the keeper at that stage? It was
Wade.
Who was the
Keeping? Not Wade.
Wade was keeping. I think Wade was keeping.
Yeah,
I think Wade was keeping. So they all knew. The other bowlers knew the other bowlers knew the ball was being damaged. They may not have known exactly how it was being damaged, but they would have had an idea. Okay.
I've sat in changing rooms. Nothing's secret in the changing room. Nothing is secret.
No, okay. The only problem you got. Okay, I don't deny what you're saying, but you've got to understand that there was a huge divide between Warner and Lyon, Hazelwood, Stark, and Cummins. They were at each other's throats. That bowling contingent in Warner, they had a lot of friction going on between those two packs. Steve Smith's inability to handle it really has tainted him to the point where he can play again, but he shouldn't captain. Honestly, for the good of Australian cricket, I don't think he should captain again.
He will be next.
I tell you what, Justin Langer doesn't want to know about it. I mean, he's coached at the moment. Tim Payne will definitely be. This time next year, it'll be a different captain. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Just wait and see who it is. I still think Aaron Finch is going to come in. Because of the fact that he has the dressing room on his side for the shorter versions.
He's not good enough. Do you know what? The one thing I love about Australian, and I love Australia, I love the people. We had an overseas player come over to our club at Banstead every year. Mark Atkinson was one of our overseas players. You may remember back in the 90s.
Yes. Yeah.
What a fantastic cricketer. Bloody hell, Norman. Could he play? Was he quick? God, crumbs. So he was our overseas for 2 years. Top bloke. And I forget what I was saying. I've lost my train of thought. Sorry, guys.
Are we about Australia? About the Australian way?
Yeah, the Australian way. Sorry, the Australian way is that they don't do what we do in this country because we're stupid. They pick their best 11 and then choose the captain first. They've always done that. Australia. They've always picked their best team before, and then they pick the captain from it.
Okay, well then just you wait and see Jason Sanger come through. Give Jason Sanger 12 months to 2 years. Okay. And you wait for him to come through because he's also a quality captain. He's a quality bat.
Yeah, I just don't think Finch gets in the best side.
Well, he's got centuries against every touring side as a teenager. I'm talking about like 1920. He scored centuries against England, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, all of them when they came to tour. The full blown top side. Pretty good. I tell you what, that's the true test.
He must have played 15 tests. He must have played 15, 20 tests, Finch.
Who? Sanger?
No, Finch. I'm talking about Finch.
He's played about 10 tests, I think. I think it's about, I'm not sure. He's played a few, definitely played a few tests, and he didn't do that well, but he didn't do that badly either.
If he was good enough, he'd be in the side.
Well, he has been pigeonholed into the short version, which he's been captain there for a long, long time. I think he's in the top 10. Let me have a look. Aaron Finch, he is 30. He's 35 as well, by the way. He's not exactly young either, but that age shouldn't be the relevant factor. Let me see how many tests he's played. I'll have a look quickly.
I'm just going to look into one of the questions. Ashwani Rana, deal with that quickly.
Go ahead.
I'm not going to be a dark horse to 2020 World Cup, I'm afraid. Ashwani, they no chance. Absolutely no.
It's funny, Ash, when Aaron Finch's not coming up. He's there, but he's not coming up for some reason. I don't know what the story is. I'm not showing
He's not good enough, is he? So tell me about Sanger then.
Okay, well, Jason Sanger was the Australian under-19s captain.
Yeah.
That made the final against India, and India had Prithvi Shaw, Gill, and the like. He was outstanding the way he plays. He's played for New South Wales. He's played very well. He's won a tournament with Randwick, which is a great side. He's been in a lot of the Australia A sides. A lot of the touring Australian teams have played against him, playing for Australia. He's an elegant batsman. He's very much like a combination of Greg Chappell and VVS Luxon. Very talented batter. Plays the short form pretty well as well. Bowls leg spin, but his forte is his batting. He'll bat top four, and he's also, I'll probably say second drop, I would say, and he'll probably, captain. When he makes the Australian side, he'll be, if he makes the Australian side, he's going in as captain.
Okay, fair enough.
He's got that Graham Smith. He's got that Graham Smith capability. That's in my opinion. He's capable of really performing. So, and he's highly regarded by Bill Anderson. Now, Bill Anderson's one of the best coaches in Australia. He's currently, he's coached Khawaja, Warner, Kadich, a whole host of people at Randwick. Mike Whitney's the president there. They all rave about him. He's an amazing. He's also a polished speaker. He's a great, very capable with being a leader of a country. He's got all the traits. He's eloquent, very, very proper. Very much out of the Alistair Cook or Graham Smith style. A young can be captain at a young age.
Well, that what you just said goes back to the point that Krishna Mohan has just made on the comments. So Tim Payne is not in good form as a batter either. I think that's irrelevant, Krishna, because Tim Payne is only there because Australia needed a decent man to take over as their captain.
Through Turnbull.
Tim Payne was seen as a very safe pair of hands. He's clearly a good guy. He talks very well. He's a smashing Aussie, if you like. He's an Aussie guy.
He's a great keeper, actually. He's a very good keeper.
Yeah, but he wouldn't be in the Test team if it hadn't been for Sandpapergate. It's just he was retired. I don't think he played.
But if you go back to his way back when before he got injured, I think he damaged his hand very badly. Many operations on a finger.
Yeah.
He was the key. He was the lead keeper before even Brad. Brad Haddon, I'm not sure. Maybe straight after Brad Haddon, around that time, he was our keeper. He was a damn good batter. He used to score big. He's lost his batting form, definitely, but his keeping's still excellent.
I think, again, I might be wrong on the exact stat, but I think before he played for Australia, he hadn't kept wicket for his stateside for 3 years. He stopped keeping wicket.
No, but he's still, honestly, his keeping is pretty. His keeping's pretty good.
He was winding down.
Yeah, because he didn't think he'd have another chance of getting back on the side. Yeah. And good Australia, it was actually a good choice. Under the circumstances, it was a good choice. I'll have to say that much. I think it was a very good choice at the time. Now it's had its time. I think give him the Ashes to end with, and we'll send you captain next season. I'm pretty sure. But I'm hoping it's Jason Sanger. All right, so let's have a look at what else we've got here. There were Indian coaches. Now, Mike Heston won't be the Indian coach, even though he does very well in IPL. Rahul Dravid is definitely the next coach. He's been geared towards that. He's coaching against Sri Lanka at the moment. He's the India A coach. He's been groomed to take over from Ravi Shastri, there's no doubt. And a good choice. Very good choice. All right, now, there's so many things we could talk about here, Reg. We could talk about the way that England are going to – they've just played against Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka were substandard. The joke of a comment by Arjun Ranatunga, which I'm particularly upset about. Akash Chopra's come out today and made a cheeky comment about the fact that Afghanistan don't have to qualify for the World Cup, but Sri Lanka does. It's quite a cheeky comment. And it's true to the form of where Sri Lanka are at the moment. And Arjun has made a big mistake, embarrassing himself to talking about such rubbish. It was quite ordinary, really, if I'm being honest. It was, but okay. England versus Pakistan. When does that start? That's starting very soon, isn't it?
I think it's Thursday. First game's this Thursday. Pakistan obviously here. There'll be good series. Pakistan.
And not a bad side.
Always for a country who are who basically have no money in their cricket to a certain extent, they keep producing proper players, don't they? I mean, and they'll be good. They'll be good in the World Cup too, the World 2020. Don't write
Absolutely.
Pakistan off. In the UAE as well. That I think they'll be decent there.
Oh, it's almost our home ground over the last few years, isn't it? So we have to realise that. So
yeah, I think that the World 2020 will be interesting. I know Munchie gave his top four. I think India, Pakistan, and England will be in the top four. I think then it's a bit of a lottery. I don't see the West Indies over 50s making it.
well, I tell you what, it won't be Australia. Australia has got a lot of soul searching to do at the moment. They've got a lot of soul searching. They really have.
Yeah, but Australia are always good. You can never underestimate Australia at any time.
No, but they're not as good as they're not automatic picks now.
Yeah.
By any means.
Yeah, I like the Aussies. I always respect the Aussies. You know, well, it's our battle, isn't it? It's England, Australia.
I wouldn't discount. Let me have a look. After Aaron Finch was okay. Aaron Finch only played 5 tests, by the way.
Okay.
And he scored 2 50s, and his batting average was 27. Hence why he's not playing. There's no promotion.
Worse.
Yeah, but 5 tests is not very many tests to say he's not good enough. It's too quick to judge.
Obviously, when was the last time then? When was his last test match? Because I bet it's 4 or 5 years ago then.
Oh, it's a few years ago. It is. But let me just make another comment. His ODI record: 132 matches. He scored 17 centuries, 29 50s, batting average of 41.85. Pretty damn good.
Yeah, but as you know, Norman, that's one hell of a difference between one-dayers and Test cricket. Look at Michael Bevan, haven't you? To
True, but Aaron Finch. What I'm getting at is, if Australia, I shouldn't say. I don't want to use the word desperately, but if they couldn't, they didn't want to turn to Steve Smith in the side, and they want to appease the rest of the team and satisfy and have harmony in the dressing room. Aaron Finch is not a bad choice. Between Tim Payne, Aaron Finch is the existing short form captain and is doing a good job, and he's well loved.
Yeah.
So if he were to slide back to be Test captain for a period of time in transition from Payne, that's not exactly unlikely. I'll tell you now, because Steve Smith and Warner and the rest of them would accept Aaron Finch as captain until they find the next captain. If that's going to be a Jason Sangha, give Jason Sangha 2 years, which means you'll need to find another captain for about a year. Aaron Finch could easily be in that place.
I'm telling you now, Norman, Steve Smith will be the next Australian captain.
Well, he's launched the media campaign. He's launched his own media campaign, and that's what I don't like about him. His batting's too important. We need him there as a batter. That's the priority for me. He needs to be in there as a batter because we will have a lack. Because Travis Head's gone, Wade's gone, Joe Burns is gone. They've only really got Curtis Patterson, he could still be in there. That's the only other person. All right, we need to turn our mind to India for a moment.
Yeah.
Our viewers. In fact, I'm going to see where our friend Gill's meant to be coming on at some stage. Let me have a look where he is. Gill's here. India are an interesting situation. Do you think, in your mind, the fact that Shubman Gill's not going to be there, it looks like he's out, indefinitely. They're bringing Prithvi Shaw into the squad, not into the Test team, and that's where people have jumped up and down. Jason, always another question: do you think he's going to make his way into the Tests?
No chance.
No, I didn't think so.
Done. Didn't have the game. No, they've got other options. He's not playing enough county championship cricket, 4-day cricket anyway, to even prove that he's good enough. He won't play. David Malan back anyway.
Gill, how are you?
I'm good, Norman. Just reaching back home.
Now you've met Chris Vernon. Here's where Chris's good looks have come from. His dad, Richard Vernon.
Hello, sir. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Are you driving? Are you actually driving?
No. I know I can, have multiple views about the game, but I'm not so good at multitasking that I can drive and talk to you. Especially talking to you, considering how much you speak. It's a very difficult task and very risky for other people on the road as well. So can't do that for sure.
As long as you're not behind the wheel, that's all. Because in an
No,
Australian
I'm
car,
I'm not on the wheel. Someone else is on the wheel.
okay.
Getting
So,
back, Norman, to the England-India Test series, I've been checking my news feeds all day to see if India have announced their first Test side yet, and I'm surprised to see that they haven't announced the team. I mean, it's only a month out. You think they would have already announced who their team was going to be?
The squad is the same. They announced the squad along with the one for the WTC. It's just that there are reports coming out that Shubman Gill may not be available because of his injury. We don't know the extent of his injury yet, and once that clears up, we know who is going to replace him. There's a possibility that Abhimanyu Easwaran, who was in the squad as a backup or a reserve, he might make it to the squad.
who was that again?
Abhimanyu Easwaran.
Yes. So, but they're going to bring Pretty Shaw in as well.
I don't think that's going to happen. It's just a report that has come out. I don't think it even makes sense, honestly, because see, he's already in Sri Lanka. The series is going to start on the 13th, and he's a much better white ball player, suited to that as well. By the time he flies to UK, there's going to be a 15-day quarantine. Plus, they already have the likes of Mayank Agarwal, KL Rahul, Hamma Vihari, and Abhimanyu Easwaran. It's not going to serve any purpose to send him to England, and then he may not even get the games. Better for him to play the
Yeah,
white ball
you're right.
series in Sri Lanka.
Gil, you're right.
See, you have
Agarwal
come out.
will open with Rohit. I think Agarwal's going to open with Rohit. I think that's what's going to happen.
Ye-
That has to
I,
be the
I think
order of
that
things.
that's going to be the pecking order. So Agarwal might start with Rohit. If he doesn't do well, then maybe you'd have someone like Hanuma Vihari come in. But I really don't think that Prithvi Shaw is going to make it to England because there are enough options. And
Yeah. Okay. All right. Hang on. It's got to see what's going on.
What I
Yeah,
was looking at, Norman, is I'm surprised India haven't announced their starting 11 yet for the first Test match.
Oh, it's a bit. It's a bit fair off. It's only July 5th. It's
Well,
not over a month
They
away.
did the World Test Championship when they completely mucked up there. I mean, I don't know if they got a bad ride in India, but the complete numbskull decision by Shastri and I assume Kohli to adopt the team that wasn't suitable when they knew the weather forecast, it lost them the game. They lost the game, although New Zealand were very good. But only
Okay,
having
so there's a bit of sarcasm in your comment.
there
See.
was there wasn't.
The reality is that
It's nonsense.
pretty sure won't. I mean, I thought it was fait accompli. He was coming. I didn't think it was so up in the air as what Gil had made up. But that's interesting because the reality is that Agarwal, Mayank Agarwal is a tremendous back. He really is.
Yeah, he is very good.
And I think if he's given the option to play there, Vihari, has he been playing county cricket the last few weeks?
Oh, now I'm not sure about that. There's been no county cricket on in this country for the last 6-7 weeks.
Oh, is that right?
Been one day 2020 stuff. The latest run of county championship matches started yesterday, and there's only one round, so he wouldn't have been playing county championship. No.
Okay, there's a question here about what is the price of a Kookaburra ball played in Test. Really, they are.
What is the
They've got all
price?
sorts of pricings. They can be as much as $250 a ball if they're at the top of a test ball. A test Kookaburra ball is premium. It could be $500. There's no limit to how much it can cost. There's no standardized price. Kookaburra balls do vary in quality in terms of standard. And the purity of the ball, the roundness of the ball, there's all these categories. It's not just off the shelf.
Normally be better for cricket, Test cricket in general, if they just use the Duke's ball around the world, of course. The Kookaburra ball lasts for 8-9 overs. the seam goes flat, it doesn't swing, and in some countries it can be Test cricket is dull because of that. Whereas with the Duke's ball, you keep the seam, it'll swing for longer, and it's longer, which is why the Aussies have been using it in the Sheffield Shield. Is it still called that? I don't know.
They have. It is called that. It's gone back to being called that, actually.
And they like it, don't they? The cricket has been
I
improved.
know.
Techniques have been better. I don't get why the Duke's ball isn't used in more countries. It's a fantastic cricket ball.
Yes. I think they're actually, well, the very fact that we've used Duke balls in our domestic competition, the Sheffield Shield, tells me that there is a murmuring towards it being used more often. And whether it becomes the ball that's used in Australia over the Kookaburra, there's tradition about the Kookaburra too. The Kookaburra ball is well over 100 years now. I think it's pretty close to 100 years old in terms of its manufacturing. So there's all that included. So we can't forget that. It's not just about what balls should be accepted around the world. There's traditions within countries. I don't know about India, Gil.
They have the SG ball. There's the
SG
SG
ball.
ball in India. Yeah, but
Has the SG ball been around since the year dot?
over the last 2 seasons, there have been complaints by the Indian cricket team only on the quality of SG balls. What they've been saying is that post the 50 over mark, the ball loses all its seam. It becomes too scruffed up. It becomes too soft, even for spinners to get any purchase out of the surface. Because if the ball has lost all of its seam, you really can't grip it. And once you can't grip it, how do you get it to how do you get it to have more revs on the ball and then extract any turn, or even side spin or top spin? So there have been complaints about it, and it actually does lose all of its shape. We saw what happened in the series versus India and England as well, which was happening in India. That spinners were becoming much easier to play post the 50 over mark. It's just that once after the first Test match, England didn't had enough wickets after the 40th or the 50th over mark to take advantage of it. Probably if they would have had taken that advantage, maybe we could have seen much closer series, considering how someone like Joe Root is such a good batsman of spin bowling. And also the numbers will not tell it, but Josh Butler is a very good batsman, to bat in the top six for England, especially if you look at the other options. And when it comes to playing spin, he becomes even better because he's played so much of cricket in India. He has all the range. He also has those reverse sweeps and sweeps which can actually put off any bowler, from bowling a consistent line and length. Because if a batsman can reverse sweep you, you really are completely put off with all of your plans. Because if you're planning to get a batsman out caught at short leg, or backward short leg, but if a batsman is playing you a reverse sweep outside the off stump, you you really get frustrated that all of your three catching fielders, which might be the slip, the backward short leg, and the short leg, they're probably never going to come into the picture. So yeah, I mean, yes, we should rely on the data. Yes, we should go by numbers, but if the players that you have aren't doing great anyway, I suggest that sometimes you have to go back and back someone like a Josh Butler to do the job, because the ones who are replacing him, they aren't doing great anyway either. So it's a very tough call if you ask me, because the numbers don't help Josh Butler make his case, or even for Johnny Bairstow to make their case in the middle order. Both of them average in the 30s, and if you see them play at their prime, you'd be surprised that they average in the 30s. They're much better batsmen than to be averaging in the 30s. At the very least, they should be averaging somewhere around 40, 41, or 42, but not less than that. But the fact that they don't average even 35, they really don't help their case.
Josh Butler has never averaged high in any form of longer form cricket. He has a very poor county championship average. In fact, he wasn't even good enough to get in the side, I think, at Somerset before he moved to Lancashire. He was seen as just a one day.
Actually,
Yeah,
actually, England. There's a lot of discourse and debate in English cricket about how they really didn't find a replacement for Andrew Strauss, and Cook was the lone opener. And then when Cook retired in 2018, they haven't found opener worthy of his replacement.
Yeah, agree.
But there's another truth, and it just gets slips in the under the radar because you haven't really had those contributions, and there have been other people who failed at different times. That England haven't had someone like a Matt Pryor as well. Matt Pryor was averaging 40 plus, and when Matt Pryor came on the scene, he wasn't really a very good wicket keeper. He just worked on his skill so much that he became a reliable wicket keeper, and he was anyway a good batsman. Just that when England lost that test match to India in Lord's 2014, that England chose to drop Matt Pryor and then he didn't play another test match. And Josh Butler came in, scored runs in that series. And after that, it's just been a game of musical chairs. There's been Josh Butler, there's been uh, Johnny Bairstow, there's been Folks. Uh,
Well, Ben
there's been
Stokes is probably the best batter and keeper. He's probably going to be a mainstay from now on as far as that position is concerned.
Well, I'm not sure, Norman. I mean, without doubt, Ben Folkes is the best wicketkeeper in the country, possibly the world. I mean, he's a very fine wicketkeeper. And given a chance as a number 7 bat, I think he would do a good job. The problem is they love Josh Butler, and it's not necessarily what he does on the field as well. They think in the dressing room he is almost captain-elect. Certainly as vice-captain, they see him as a very, very strong presence in the dressing room, and they want to keep him. That's the only reason, because Johnny Bairstow is probably as good a gloveman as Butler. Not much in it. And Best at the moment is batting brilliantly in the one-day stuff. Crikey, he's absolutely destroyed a couple of times. I mean, what did he get? 49 off 18 balls or something in one of the one-days. He's a very good player, Johnny Bairstow.
But England have got to put their neck out now and pick a side and stick to it for a while. Forget this rotation rubbish. Stick to a side now and give the one side a full thrashing in the 5 tests against India.
You know what would be my playing 11 for England, especially the top 6? I'd have the same openers, Sibley and Burns. Number 3, I'll actually now this is a suggestion which may not go down with a lot of people, but I'll still make the suggestion. I'll have Ben Stokes at number 3, Joe Root at number 4. Number 5, you have Oli Pope. Number 6.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Number 6, Josh Butler, and number 7, you can have Folks. The reason why I say Ben, although you wouldn't ideally want Ben Stokes to bat at number 3 because he's going to, bowl a little bit as well. But he's not been bowling the same amount of overs that he was bowling in 2018. Earlier, he was bowling 20 to 25 overs every innings. Now he bowls 10 to 15. Also, if Joe Root is not comfortable batting at number 3, so you might as well bring someone like Ben Stokes who can, do the job, because if he's anyway batting at 5 or 6, he's facing the second new ball anyway. So he needs to he already has that game to bat with the new ball. So if he's batting at number 3, it sort of gives you an option where you have someone who has a good defensive game and can cash in on any scoring opportunity that comes their way and ensure that there's no pressure building up. Why I'm having Oli Pope? Because his county record has been very good, and I don't think there's anyone who can actually take the spot up for grabs when it comes to Oli Pope. There's no one who's been doing better than him.
But Dawood Milan needs to go.
Milan will play, I think. My opinion, I think that England have got some problems with their batting, but I agree with Gil to a certain extent. I don't think Stokes will bat at 3. I think they'll leave him at 5. I think they see that axis of Root, Stokes, and Pope, 4, 5, and 6, as strong going forward. I think Ollie Pope's got a lot. I think that he's had a poor-ish summer. Obviously hard in India for a young guy, but I think we'll find that he's got the game. But I think England have got a massive problem 1, 2, and 3. Burns will stay because he's had a good summer so far, and he's tenacious. God, he's tenacious. Yeah. I don't like Sibley at all. I don't think you can have that technique and have any longevity as a test player. He's got a lot of guts, and again, he's tenacious, but I don't like it. I think what they might do is they love Crawley, by the way. They think he's got something.
In Australia, Zach Crawley will be something.
Certainly going into, I was just about to say, certainly with Australia on the horizon, they might think that might be something they want to stay with. And I think that they might bring Crawley up to open, but Milan might come in at 3. I think David Milan is a good player.
He could be one of the best batters in the side if he's given a chance.
Well,
honestly.
I think he's got some problems in the dressing room. I don't think he's particularly liked. I think he's a bit of a difficult personality. And you know what it's like when you're picking sides. You know, you've got to be. It's not unless you're producing 100 after 100. If you're a difficult personality, you're the first man to get pushed out the side if you're not careful.
I've met David Milan. He played for Middlesex.
Do you guys think of?
He's a great guy.
What do you guys think of someone like Dan Lawrence? Also, I want to know. I want to know from both of you this: what happened to Joe Denley? Joe Denley was decent enough in the previous Ashes. He played a few good innings, and he had a decent next tour as well. I don't know what happened to him and why he's not a part of the squad anymore. What happened to Joe Denley?
Joe Denley's a local guy for where I live. He plays for the Kent, which is my county. He's getting on a bit. They saw that he had a pretty good run and he only averaged probably mid-30s for an extended period of time, although he batted for long periods. He certainly sold his wicket dearly. I'll give that to him. And I think they just wanted to move on and find someone better moving forward. I think they thought it was time to move on.
Again, Denley in Australia with Milan and Zach Crawley, they're the people who can perform well in Australia. They've got to keep those in mind.
Denley won't play again, Norman. That ship, I'm telling you now, there's no chance, absolutely zero chance he'll be in any squads ever again.
Right.
His ship sailed. I don't know. You have to look at. I can't look how old he is. I'm guessing he's 35. I might be very wrong on that.
Well, I don't know anything about this Hasid Hamid. What's the story with him?
Okay, they love Hasid Hamid, the England's selection, not selection, the England's setup. He had he scored 100 in India. Is it India? He got 100 in the last tour, not the one we just had previously.
No, he didn't score 100. Hasid Hamid didn't score 100. He had a very good 50 in the third test match in Mohali. Okay. And he was ruled out for the next 2 tests because he was hit by an Umesh Yadav bouncer. And then you had Keaton Jennings, who made his debut in Mumbai, and he scored 100.
Sorry, I thought he got 100 on debut. I do apologise about that. But he came back to England. He had some problems with technique. That he got dropped. He then got 0 runs for his county. I think he was at Lancashire, is his home county, for the next 2 seasons, and lost his contract. He lost his county contract.
Oh, really?
Got dropped out the game to a certain extent. Got picked up by Nottinghamshire, and this summer, in the early part of this summer, he scored quite a lot of runs in the early season county championship. For Notts, and England selectors drafted him straight back into the bigger squad. I think he was in the squad for the New Zealand fixtures. I don't think he was going to play, but they brought him back into the environment. I think they see him as a very, very good player. He's been getting runs, so who knows whether they'll bring him in instead of Sibley against India it's a possibility. England got problems. Top 3, they've got problems. Well, 2 of the 3 big problems.
This is a bit left field. I'm going to answer it
now. I can't even read it.
Savant said.
I like this question. I like the question that has come up.
This one?
Yeah.
Well, okay.
I have just one answer for this, and I'll mention it very clearly. There's AB de Villiers, there's Daylight, and then there is anyone else. The reason why I say that is because no one has his range and no one has his game. So I was talking to Jared, and Jared said that he thinks that the likes of De Villiers, Gary Sobers, and Don Bradman. He says that I'm sure that if there is some kind of study that happens, we'll get to know that these guys just just pick up the length and the ball and read everything probably a second or two earlier than everyone else. So when it comes to being destructive, overall, forget death or forget whatever the situation. When it comes to destruction, no one's as good as AB de Villiers because you can tie down a Russell or a Pollard if you are bowling at 140 plus and bowling short at them. You can tie down MS Dhoni as well with that line, either the wide Yorkers or bowling into the body. But you can't really do that with AB de Villiers. AB de Villiers actually is very good against the short ball, and someone like a Josh Butler does have the range and the capability of AB de Villiers, but he's nowhere as consistent as what AB de Villiers is. So while Dhoni, Russell, Pollard can be very destructive, but they do have their limitations. And post 2014, 2015, MS Dhoni was struggling against leg spin as well when he was playing in the ODIs. So it's clearly AB de Villiers. Then there's daylight. In terms of ability, I'll say Josh Butler comes second, but his consistency is nowhere near the other three players who are there and who are there like the likes of Pollard and Dhoni. And Andre Russell hasn't really played a lot of ODIs to be even considered in this debate. If you talk of T20s, then yes, but in ODIs, I don't think Andre Russell even makes the list.
He's playing in the West Indies over 50s side at the moment. This week he was playing with the
over 50s, so it's not over 50s.
No, it's T20.
Against South Africa.
It's T20, not 50 overs.
Oh, sorry, T20, T20, yeah. The West Indies over 50s put a side out against.
Not over 50. That's not. We're over 50s, not him. What's your thoughts?
Well, I know the game has changed and they didn't have 2020 cricket back in the day, as it were. But I would love to have seen Viv Richards play in 2020 because, poor boy, when he used to walk out to bat, that swagger that he had and the way he used to take
He's the most look. Let's be honest. Lara Sobers, whoever, Viv Richards was the most exciting batsman that has ever walked the earth.
In a different.
If you had to pay $1,000 to see any player, you'd pick Viv Richards every time, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, yes. I mean, I'm old, but of course, even if you look at his numbers, even in Test cricket, he wouldn't have. Probably his strike rate wasn't even 100, so he wasn't destroying it as such. I remember watching Ian Botham once the match after he got a ban, I think, or whatever, he took on Thompson and McDermott we went 6-6-4 4 out. I think 4-6-6 4 out in 5 balls 20 in one Test match, which was brilliant.
But look, I mean, I know we're older. We know Viv Richards, but I've never seen a batsman since Viv Richards that excites me as much with him coming out the bat. I'm afraid.
Lara, I would guess Lara used to excite me.
But Viv Richards was more box office than Lara.
Yeah. So in answer to the question, of those 5, I don't agree with any of them. I agree with Gil. I would go for AB de Villiers. I think that the South African political system has taken away from us what would have been one of the greatest players we've ever seen. I just, that's my opinion. I know a little bit about the South African cricket and I think it's terrible. I think it's a shame. It's a real shame.
Yeah, totally agree. All right, that was a good question.
In an answer to that question would be AB de Villiers. I agree with Gil.
Yeah. Okay. It's a confusing time for cricket, if you ask me, because this month there's got so many different games starting, whether it's Sri Lanka versus India and Sri Lanka and the Pakistan-England game, the finish off of England versus Sri Lanka. They got Australia going on with the West Indies. This is a confusing mix of cricket overlapping each other with the 100. It's hard to keep focus on one, to be honest with you. they're doing it because of time and COVID. They're squishing it all together because the doors have opened, haven't they, really? I mean,
Yeah.
when the India-England series takes place, though, that hasn't got much competition, has it? Other than the 100, there's nothing else really going on, I don't think, during that period. I think Australia might be playing Bangladesh, but that's good. We've
See,
got such a... Sorry?
yeah, apart from COVID, there's another thing why we see series being crammed. The fact is, in four in 4 months' time, you have the T20 World Cup, and
Yes,
all teams want to play as many T20s as possible to get their combinations right. So
that's right.
teams also don't have any other option but to play series and have them clash with other series that are happening, because eventually you want to get your squad right and you want to be prepared for each and every scenario possible. Because also, T20 is the kind of format where uh, a win is not even a guarantee, even if you're playing an associate nation. We've seen what has happened with England, and it has happened twice that they've lost to Netherlands, both in 2009 and then in 2014. Australia lost to Netherlands. Australia lost to Zimbabwe in 2007. West Indies lost to Afghanistan in 2016. They lost to Bangladesh in 2007. So these upsets do happen. So,
Yeah.
and
England
with
definitely lost to Zimbabwe, I think. The chicken farmer, was it Nanes? Dirk Nanes? Was that bowled us out, which was a high point of our international lives. So yeah, there are definitely upsets. Didn't Canada do well in one of the tournaments?
Yeah, I did
Didn't
too.
have a rather big opening bat who bashed it. Canada.
that was in 2003.
Was it 2000?
John Davidson scoring a 60 odd ball 100, but then
In Australia, wasn't it? John Davidson was Australian.
that was versus West Indies in 2003 World Cup. And in the very same game, Wavel Hines also scored 100. I think it was 66 or 67 ball 100.
Who
So
the big fat guy who played and bashed it as well for? He was a West Indian, I think, by birth, but he was playing for someone like
Dwayne Leverock playing for
But he was
Bermuda.
playing for the Bahamas. Or
Fantastic.
Bermuda.
Bermuda.
He take that diving one-handed catch. Am I right?
I tell you what, that catch he took, I don't care how fat he is. I want to see a slim guy catch that. I'll tell you.
Me and you, Norman, would look just the same taking that catch, wouldn't we?
I've been called Dwayne Leverock a few times, I'll tell you.
Sorry, Norman. I wanted to talk about something that came up yesterday. A lot of your comments. So I haven't seen if they've been asked today. There is zero chance that Pujara will not be playing in the first Test match. Whoever comes on these comments and says that Pujara is going to be dropped, they do not understand cricket. They do not understand that they're playing in England, and they do not understand what you need in England. See, Gill's just dropped off, unfortunately. But
yeah, he just said to me he couldn't hear us clearly, so he's
okay.
The
comments yesterday that Pujara is going to be dropped, they're nonsense.
It is nonsense.
One, they've just lost their opening bat. So if you're going to lose an opening bat, you're not going to change number 3 as well, are you?
No.
Because that would be madness.
Is that better? Is that better, Gill?
Is that better, Gill?
Yeah, but actually there's some problem in the network today. I keep dropping off.
That's right.
Gil,
we were talking about Pujara.
Yeah. He's got zero chance of Pujara not playing.
Yeah, he's extremely important to it. He, to me, every team needs a Pujara, especially in Test cricket. They really do. And that's where England have a problem, except for Root. They don't have people who bat the whole innings, and that's the frustrations with England at the moment. Rory Burns is doing a pretty good job, but, there's a lot more to be said about that, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, Williamson was awesome, wasn't he?
The World Test Championship, I don't think they got the right player of the match. Jameson certainly bowled well, but Williamson was the player of the match.
Oh, but did you see stats on Jameson in that finals? It was just his stats were unbelievable.
But then Williamson held them together when the wickets were falling, and in the last innings, he and Taylor cruised to it. You've got to give a lot of credit to Williamson. I think.
No, but
I would have had him banned
New Zealand wouldn't have lost if Williamson wouldn't have contributed in the second innings. the reason that they were put into a winning position on the final day was because of Jameson. And let's
No,
not forget
but hang on.
wickets.
Williamson's batting in the first innings was extremely important because they could have been out for a very low score, and then India would have had the ascendancy. So I actually think that was equally as important as any fifer, to be honest with you, because India could have been out for less. Sorry, England could have been out for less than England.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was saying New Zealand could have been out for less than India in that first innings.
Yeah, it's always hard in any
They were
game.
7 for 192. They could have been all that for 198.
Yeah, but it's always hard to pick out one player. It's a team game. There's always lots of contributions. I agree.
No, true.
I agree with you, because I think the biggest unsung hero in world cricket, and I'll put this out there, is Wagner. Gosh, what a bloody player he is. What would any side want? Wouldn't they want Wagner? He runs in first change or second change, and he just works and he bowls at hard ball constantly. He's brilliant, Wagner. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. He brings life to the team, doesn't he? He's amazing. And he's South African. Is he South African?
I don't know. Yeah.
I believe he is. I was shocked when someone told me that. I didn't realise. He's also South African.
There was a stat, Norman, cricket's best game in the world for stats, wasn't there? When Conway got his debut 100 against England in the first test we just played against them, a stat came out, I think, said he is the 12th South African to get 100 on test debut, and only 6 of those have been playing for South Africa.
That's amazing. It just goes to show how South Africa are losing their talent. I mean, imagine if Conway was playing for South Africa, Wagner for that matter, a whole host of people, really. And Ben Stokes playing for New Zealand.
Norman, there's a guy on the comments. I don't know if he's subscribed or not. I hope he has. Shail Manju. He keeps asking the same question. I'm gonna answer it in the
answer
way I can. That I've got absolutely no idea when AB de Villiers has performed in an ICC tournament. All I'm telling you is, me and Gil got asked a question who we think the best ever finisher and destructive player was, and Gil gave an absolutely bloody brilliant answer, and I agree with him. I don't care whether he's done it in an ICC tournament or not, because it's not all about ICC tournaments. Don't tell me that when England play Australia, that Ben Stokes' 137 wasn't one of the greatest innings ever played in cricket ever. That wasn't an ICC tournament. It was just, as an Englishman, just one of the great innings. We were talking about Brian Lara earlier. That Brian Lara 153 not out against Australia in a test match was just one of the great innings. So these aren't ICC tournaments. So I'm going to say AB de Villiers, whether it's IC or not, is just the most destructive player. I agree with
No, but also when AB de Villiers scored the fastest 150 in an ODI, it came in a World Cup.
Okay, so you've answered the question. Well done. I can't remember.
I find this obsession with performances in ICC tournaments quite unhealthy and quite unreal, because when you are going out to play, when you are in the process of facing the delivery, or when you are in the process of bowling a delivery, you're not thinking that it's an ICC tournament game. Once you're in the zone, the only thing that matters to you is delivering your 100% as soon as possible on each and every delivery. If you start thinking that, okay, your effort isn't lower or higher just because it's a bilateral game or it's a ICC game, you prepare for all games in a similar manner. It's not that you play with a different technique. So I just think that people have this unreal obsession with ICC tournaments, thinking that there is some, at the end of the day, it is still the same game.
But if you're going to be remembered for something, if you're going to win a World Cup final with your batting in the final,
no, but
you're going to be remembered more.
What I'm trying to say is that the hype is because of the marketing. It's not that players prepare differently. When you are facing a Brett Lee, when you're facing a Brett Lee, or when you're facing a Glenn McGrath, or when you're facing a Wasim Akram, the only thing as a batter that matters to you is looking at the hand during the release, and then trying to decipher where the ball is going to swing or seam. At that point of time, you're not really thinking, oh, this is an ICC World Cup final, or this is a bilateral game, or this is a practice game. you still want to commit 100% to the delivery you are facing. So people need to understand this. And if the process for a player is not going to change, regardless of how big or small a game it is, then the assessment also shouldn't be changing. You don't go into a game thinking, okay, I'm only going to give my 80%, or I'm going to give my 110%. Firstly, I don't think there's something like 110% which can even exist mathematically. Once you give your 100%, that's good enough. How do you quantify?
Oh,
How do
you
you
can try that
quantify?
extra bit now. Come on, you can always find a bit. You can always find a bit.
Yeah, how do you quantify 110% or 120% or a 200%? Like
Well,
these things just
110% is where you're on the floor after the match. You're basically spent. That's
yeah.
when you've gone beyond your body's capability.
So
I would know.
no, what I'm trying to say is that these are the terms that come in from the marketing side of things. If you
True.
really think about it, there is nothing greater than 100%. Your body doesn't allow to give you 110%. It's not
It's
possible.
a tautology or whatever the expression word is, because percent means out of 100. So that you actually can't give 110%. You can only give up to
Exactly.
100%. So it's just a
Exa-
press thing. It's language. Language has evolved to change it.
Exactly. People take these things too literally.
Yeah.
If a player is not going to treat any game different than what it is already, then as fans we should also understand that these things count for very little in the larger scheme of things.
Yeah.
So there's a question about most destructive opener. I don't think.
Yeah, I just seen that. I wonder. Can I have a go at that one, Norman, first?
Sure.
Yeah, who's put it on? Ashwani Rana is a subscriber, Norman, I hope.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that all the Indian fans are going to say Sehwag was the most destructive opener, and there's a great Warner will have lots of fans out there. This is my answer, but I used to love watching Matty Hayden open the batting.
Oh, yeah.
Crumbs, he used to get on that front foot and pummel those bowlers down the ground. I loved Hayden. I'm a left-hander myself. But the most destructive opening innings I ever saw in a test match was Gordon Greenwich. England's left West Indies just over two sessions and one under an hour to score 344 in a test match at Lords. I think it was at Lords in whatever year it was, going back. Gower was captain. 344 he left them just before lunch on the last day. Gordon Greenwich, 200 not out, 345 for one. Thank you very much. Gordon Greenwich what a player. What a player Gordon Greenwich was.
Oh, he was, and he took on some incredible bowlers too. The Lillian Thompson, the best.
You look
Just
at
the point.
The attacks in those days that he was playing. And mind you, he didn't have to face the best lot. They were in his team. But fantastic batsman.
There was one name that he mentioned there was Doug Walters. Doug Walters was one of the first batters ever to score centuries in a session.
Did he open Dougie Walters?
So, he wasn't an opener. He wasn't
an opener.
No. But I mean, in terms of going out and scoring 100 in a session, the time that he did it against England, he's actually scored 100 in a session in all three sessions. He's done that at a different time. He was remarkable. He was some player.
Yeah.
Imagine him playing cards, having a cigarette and a beer. Can you imagine it, Gil? You're playing cards, smoking a can of beer, putting them down. I'll be back later, guys. Going and scoring 100 in a session.
So, Gil,
incredible.
Would you say Sehwag was the most destructive opener? Would that be?
Not in ODIs, because if you see his numbers, he wasn't very consistent in ODIs. His average is below 40. He was actually
test matches.
He was much more impactful in test matches. I think I'd say this, that Sehwag is probably the best test match batsman in Asia. I don't think anyone has better numbers than Sehwag in Asia. I think he averages 60 plus and at a strike rate of 85 in test matches. But I am starting to think, see, I haven't seen Viv Richards play. So whatever I have on Viv Richards is his numbers. And his numbers are just insane. For an era in which he played in, to average 50 and bat at a strike rate of 90 is insane. I mean, if we are to draw an equivalence, a strike rate of 90 in ODIs in that era translates to a strike rate of 120, 125 in this era.
At
So,
least. At least.
but I think in today's times, the most destructive opener, without a doubt, is Johnny Bairstow. His numbers are incredible, and he just does, and he's relentless. The kind of game that he plays, to be as consistent as he is incredible. Because it's not that, and the great thing about Johnny Bairstow, which I like, is that when he's nearing a milestone, whether it be a 50 or 100, he doesn't believe in slowing down. He just keeps going for it. So I think in today's era, or probably in the last decade, Johnny Bairstow's easily been the most destructive ODI opener. And in the previous decade, which was from the 2000 to 2010s, Matthew Hayden is probably the guy I'd go for. Sachin maybe at par, if not, because see, the other thing is that Sachin's peak was in 1990s. His the kind of cricket that he played between 90s 94 95 to 2005 4 5 was incredible, but he had a dip around 2005 2006 2007 that probably might fit Matty Hayden ahead of Sachin in the era of 2000 to 2010. But overall, if you are talking in terms of destruction, if you go by just sheer numbers, hard to look away from Viv Richards. To have a strike rate of 90 in that era is incredible. And in this era, I think AB de Villiers has scored probably 10,000 runs at an average of 50 and a strike rate of 100. So that is
And
that.
Viv Richards wore no pads, was
Yeah.
chewing gum,
I was
went
just
out with a
saying,
swagger.
it's going to
There
say
was
exactly
nothing
that.
There was nothing better.
He
There
used
was
to wear
nothing
a
better.
cap. He used to wear his West Indies cap, and he used to come out chewing gum, and just sort of he sauntered, he swaggered into the middle with his carefree attitude, and he took a very nonchalant guard. And
There was no one better. There was. I'm sorry. I don't care who you
Brilliant.
say. Lara, blah blah blah. The best ever batsman to go and watch play cricket in any format was Viv Richards by 100 miles.
I'm with Lara. I'm against you. I'm with Lara.
No. Gil, why haven't you watched more of Viv Richards? I'm annoyed with you. Get out all the Viv Richards tapes and watch. If your jaw's not on the floor, I'd be surprised.
I'll do that, Norman. You know that I have a job to do. Then I have my own YouTube channel that I run, and then from whatever time remains,
I don't care. I don't care.
I'm
Any
here talking
excuse.
cricket with you. There are only 24 hours in a day. You need to realize that.
We're going to get. If I want you to do, go look at Viv Richards and compile a Viv Rich package. It'll be 3 hours long. It's just amazing.
So Norman Shale Manu.
I'll do that. Anyway, I'll
All right,
leave
Gil,
now.
thanks
My
for
phone's
being with us.
battery is going,
All right, Gil,
and
thanks for being
I
with
don't
us.
have the laptop today. Okay.
Thank you
Ciao,
so
ciao.
much. It's a pleasure,
Ciao.
my friend.
You should see Gil's channel. A lot of class about his channel. He's just started it. He's done very well.
Classy man. Norman, Shale Manu has come back to us in big capitals. He likes writing in big capitals.
Yeah.
People remember great performances, ICC knockouts, not bilateral series. Crap. It's crap.
Yeah.
I'm telling you now. This is just me. I'm telling you, what do I remember? I remember Ian Botham in 1981. That I remember Brian Lara in maybe 99 against Australia. It might be 99. And I remember we'll never forget Ben Stokes.
Oh, that was a magnificent performance. Magnificent.
These weren't ICC tournaments. these are test matches.
Steve was scoring a century on the SCG off the last ball. That was something special.
Yes, absolutely. That brilliant Jim Maxwell commentary on that. Have you heard the Jim Maxwell commentary on that? I think he was with Aggers on it. Aggers was in bits cheering him on. It was absolutely. I love Jim Maxwell. Crikey, if you could get Jim Maxwell to come on for your show.
Well, I will. I've had Jim Maxwell a few times on the show.
I would just love to invite.
Have you seen the videos of me and Jim Maxwell?
I did, yeah, I did. He's a hero.
Well, Jim's. I'm due to bring him back on again. I bumped into him at the shopping centre the other day, and he said he'd come back on. He went to Adelaide on a trip. He's an incredible man. I'll get Jim on the next. I'll get him on during this week. I'll ask him to come on.
Is absolutely brilliant, and what a commentator.
Oh,
we have a thing over here, and I don't know if the Indian people who are watching have the same. We have an institution called Test Match Special in our country, which is on the radio.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people do, including myself, is we watch the coverage with the television sound turned off and listen to the radio commentary, because our radio commentary is something very special here. And they don't always talk about cricket. It's just a fantastic thing. And
well, look at Boycott when who was it? Who's the other player? The bowler. What's his name? Who's with Boycott? Tell me the BBC commentators. You got Boycott.
Who is the main presenter at the moment?
Who?
Agnew is the main.
Exactly, Jonathan Agnew. That's what I'm talking about. When Jonathan Agnew was riling up Boycott about the 100 centuries. Remember that little skit?
Yeah. Oh, have you seen the clip of that? If anyone gets that and looks on YouTube, I think they've got it on video as well.
That's
and
so
it's
funny.
Yeah, winding Boycott about him not scoring 100 hundreds. Yeah.
One being knocked out by some ICC rule or whatever. That was funny.
Yeah. Question: What are some of Bancy Boy's recommendations for the next cycle edition of the WTC to improve the format?
Oh, that's a long question. That one.
That was I think the World Test Championship was a great idea.
Oh, it's extremely important. It's important for this.
I do think so. I think that the right two teams got to the final. I think that they are going to want to spread it around the world, the final, right? Because that's the way these things work. It's a money thing. If you put the next final, say, into India or Australia, where it's a flattish deck and one side scores 600 for 5 declared, and then it could be a terribly boring game. This is controversial, but the beauty of this one was that the weather was deadening, I know, but boy, it was a great game. And the bowlers were on top. And cricket is a better game when the bowlers are on top. We all have to see hundreds, of course we do. But what we do love to see is that ball swinging and seaming, and the batsman doing what Williamson did, blocking it out and surviving against Sharma, who bowled brilliantly, didn't he, Ishan Sharma? And that's cricket, isn't it? Watch that bowler go in, and Jameson against Kohli, crikey, it clears bars, as they used to say. They used to say when Botham came into bat that the bars would clear in this country to go and watch him play cricket. And it was the same in the World Chess Championship final. When Jameson was bowling against Kohli, it was bloody box office. It was they didn't. India only scored 12 scores in the first 50 overs of that first innings. India. It was the first time it's happened since like 50 years of Test cricket. It was tough, and it was good, and that's because of the venue. Southampton's not the best venue in this country, but you've got to get the wickets right, the conditions right, the ball right to get great Test cricket.
But the fact that they had a result in the match, we were all talking about it being washed out. I remember good old Alan Malay was saying there'll be no match at all. Trust me, I know Southampton. Well, we got a match out of it. We're going to entire match out of it. So I think it's great. I knew we would. I didn't care about the weather forecast. I knew we were going to get a result out of the match. These two teams would not have sat there and allowed a draw. They would have been both upset if it was a draw. I'm pretty sure. I even think Kohli was happy that New Zealand won. He would have preferred his own team to win, but he was happy that somebody won. I really think that.
Yeah, he was. He gave a good interview at the end. It was pretty magnanimous.
He was.
The fact that he ballsed up right from the outset, from well back, and ballsed up the whole thing was him and Shastri. They're fireproof, aren't they? Really, I mean, they did no.
I've got a lot of time for Kohli. I've got a lot of time for him.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are dishing him, even Indians are, and I think he's a great guy. He's one of the few people that signs autographs, that takes shirts off after. He does it unabashed. He's a lot humbler than we think.
I'm sure he's a good man. I don't know him. Of course, I don't know him. I'm just a punter.
I've seen him enough, and what I see of him, he's a great person.
I see arrogance, which is great in a great Test player. Okay, you've got to have an arrogance, but the problem is once you become fireproof, that arrogance can take over and can sometimes let you down. I think that New Zealand were absolutely brilliant. Whoever's in their background, they booked a 2-test series in England just before that final. Well, weren't they clever? India came over and played a couple of nonsense muck arounds into squad games, and I played in those. There's no intensity.
No.
It doesn't matter.
Form's useless in that situation.
Why didn't India book a county against a county team or something, or go and play a test match?
Were they stopped? I heard they were stopped. I think they wanted to do that.
Well, then you see, New Zealand got the one up on them. They should have played. They should have done some better preparation. They were underprepared. They announced their team 2 or 3 days before the match started, which was the wrong team and the wrong venue and the wrong pitch in the wrong weather conditions. As was now, Ashton bowled really well. To be fair, I've got to give it to him. But Jadeja really came on as an afterthought. It wasn't really in there to bowl, was he? They needed.
But the one that was the most disappointing was Bumrah. He was horrific. He was absolutely horrific.
I love Bumrah. I think he's a quality bowler, Norman.
But he played very badly in that match.
But no one's got a God-given right to play well in every single game they play. God knows I know.
No, but don't you think I think Siraj would have done better on the day? Honestly.
Yeah, he may well have done, but they went with their experience. I wouldn't have dropped Bumrah. I would have played Bumrah, so I would have.
No, I'm not talking about. No one would have dropped Bumrah. I get that, but he wasn't on song, and I even think his heart wasn't really there that day. And I do think his life experiences, where he got married recently, just has distracted him from his preparation.
Maybe. I just think that India have got a problem, haven't they, with their balance of their side? Because if they think they're going to play 2 spinners, now it might be right to play 2 spinners in August in England, if it's going to dry up and it could turn a bit. But generally these days you play 1 spinner. And the problem they've got doing that, if they want their 4 seamers, because they haven't got a seaming all-rounder, you see that, and that's the difference. Is that
they haven't got a Ben Stokes. That's what the problem was.
No, and Ashwin isn't a number 7 by any stretch, because
look, you heard me speak. I wanted Jadeja and Ashwin there because they were the best 2 bowlers, virtually statistically, for India, and that's why they were in the side. And then you pick their best bowlers all round from not from necessarily the conditions, but who they thought would get the best chance of winning, and that's why they made a mistake.
Yeah, but I give them credit. They just got it wrong because the weather forecast and the pitch conditions in Southampton said you don't need 2 spinners. It's never, and New Zealand got it. Well, it suited New Zealand anyway to not play a spinner. But boy, their 4 seamers all contributed.
They bowled fantastically, and the Granholm too.
Oh yeah, but they never let up, did they? They never ever let up. They're 5 seamers, didn't they? Yeah, because they had the all-rounder. And it was a constant pressure on the Indian batting. And Indian batting has been struggling a little bit of late. They didn't exactly pull up trees in their own country against England. No. Although England bowling attack's fairly tasty at the moment. They've got a few problems, I think, in their batting.
I'd even argue, if I'm being honest with you, around the world at the moment, in fact, all of the major sides haven't been batting that well.
They haven't. Certainly, the opening bats.
I mean, you go through them. South Africa's been abysmal in their batting. The bowling's been okay, but the batting's been abysmal.
Yeah.
Sri Lanka's been bad. Bangladesh has been bad. England have been up and down. India have been up and down. Australia's been up and down. Really, what team, except for New Zealand, maybe with Williamson, have actually been batting well? No, no one has.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of up and down behaviour in the batting. It's been pretty ordinary around the world.
Bowlers
are coming into dominance.
It won't get any easier for India either. The first test is at Trent Bridge, which is Nottingham. I know you say Nottingham. We would say Trent Bridge.
I've been to all your English grounds. Trent Bridge is a great ground.
Yeah. But for people who are watching, they'll know that as Nottingham. We call it Trent Bridge is in Nottingham. And that is a pretty decent venue for England to play. Generally, we like playing there. It's where Broad bowled the Aussies out 2015 for 60. It's a good venue for us. Second test isn't a good venue for us. That's at Lords. We'll lose that test. So I expect it to be 1-1 after 2 tests. But then India have got to go to Headingley. And I'm telling you now that will not be easy for the Indian batting. That will swing generally at Headingley, depending on the weather, and that won't be straightforward at all. And then they come to the Oval, which can be flat as a pancake.
What a great ground, though. I love the Oval. That's one of my favourite grounds.
Yeah.
Obviously, Lords is number one, but Oval's great. I love the Oval.
Lucky enough to play at the Oval, Norman. I played at the Oval in the middle. Yeah, I was just lucky enough. And Chris has played there as well.
What a ground.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So I've got a feeling that...
Where's the last match? Edgbaston.
No, the last match is at Old Trafford in mid-September, which, again, you don't really think two spinners at Old Trafford. And in mid-September, the weather could be very iffy. I mean, it's unusual. Our last test match is usually at the Oval in early September. So traditionally, we played last game at the Oval 5th of September, something like that. The last test match here is in 15th, I think, 13th, 15th starting. And that's in Old Trafford, which is Manchester, which is north of our country.
Yeah.
The weather can get very iffy. The Oval, sorry to people who are listening, don't understand. Sorry, the Oval is in London, which is in the south, where the weather's traditionally much better. So playing at Old Trafford in mid-September could be weather affected. It might be fine, but it could be weather affected. And I can see potentially that being 2-1 England with one draw at that time. There you go. There's my prediction going into the last test. You can hold me to that.
2-1 England with a draw, and then an unknown last game.
England win at Trent Bridge, lose at Lords, win at Headingley, draw at the Oval. There you go. And all about the bowling, because our batting's, it's
So
going to
the last game, do you think it could be 2-all?
The last game, I think, could be about the weather, and I think it's going to be hard. If India are going to be completely stubborn about their team and will not play the conditions, because you can't just pick your best team. You can't. You have to play the conditions. And if it's going to be...
I agree with you, but for the World Test Championship, they played their best team rather than the conditions.
But the conditions didn't suit two spinners.
No, but you would have been, the overall Indian public wouldn't have forgiven you if you didn't play their best team, even though they weren't the most appropriate team.
Oh, well, there you go. That's a different matter, isn't it? That's politics coming into it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it was
There's no way they were going to leave out those players.
No, they love Jadeja, and I love Jadeja as well. I just think that if they go in to the series against England with Pant, Jadeja, Ashwin, that could be roughly what they go as a middle order, couldn't it? And I think they're going to struggle. I just think they're going to struggle.
You're going to find Viharis, after his performance in Sydney, where he batted with Ashwin and saved the test, Vihari's place will become notable. He's a very stubborn character, not unlike a Pujara, but he's got a bit more going for him. They may well include him at some stage as well. Rather than a bowler, they might include a batter.
Yeah.
If Jadeja's out.
Yeah. I just think, it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be about the bowlers again. We've had a wettish summer so far here, so chances are it could
have you? Yeah.
Yeah, just believe it or not. But that August and September can be very good. Can be good, the weather. But if it's a little bit damp and overcast at times, then Anderson, Broad. I've got to say, Ollie Robinson will come back. I can't believe they'll not.
Oh, that was terrible the way he was treated. That was a complete joke. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but it's trial, Norman, by media these days, and it's trial by is it called the woke generation?
Yeah.
Where you can't say or do anything anymore because you're going to offend someone somewhere at some stage. Now, what he did was wrong.
Politically correct.
But what he did was wrong 8 years ago. And if they'd found a systemic problem, if they'd gone through his tweets and found 100 of them going back, that's a different matter. The fact is they trawl through his history. I mean, who does that? Who's not trying to find trouble?
How did it come about in the first place?
Well, someone took the trouble to trawl through his whole Twitter history going back 10 years. So they trawl through it found
Why?
3.
Well, they have a
Well,
vendetta against him?
yeah, no, the answer why is, Norman, because that's the shit gutter press that we have in this country.
But why does every player cop the same treatment?
I would imagine they've tried to do it. They tried to do it with everyone. Yeah, I imagine they've tried to find something on everyone and then to announce it that on his test. That don't tell me that they didn't have that information 2 weeks before.
Exactly.
They had it and they decided to release it right on his debut.
Who was that? Well, that person should be held to account as well. They should be held to account. They should really be held to account. Someone that would release it in that manner. That's disgraceful.
Well, this is what we do in this country. I don't know if you have the same problem.
We do. It happens in Australia as well. It's all about sensationalising something. I get that.
I hate it. And anyone who says they were offended by those tweets, right? You have to bear with me on this, Norman. They weren't offended by Ollie Robinson because they hadn't seen those bloody tweets. They were 9 years ago. They were offended by the journalist who decided to broadcast them to the world's media now. He's the one who's offended them because no one saw them then. 3 people probably saw them back then, and it's all in the dim, distant past. The boy's changed, so he's going to come back. He was very impressive as a debut.
So they've made some comments today about the age of the New Zealand bowlers. And you can even argue the English bowlers. The fact is, you've got a truckload of blokes coming through. New Zealand's got Matt Henry. They've got a range of players coming through behind that main guard. So do England. England have got a number of players coming through as well. I think to me, England and New Zealand are the now emerging as the contestants against India. Australia is now 4th, if not 5th.
Yeah, that's nonsense. Australia have still got the best 4 bowlers, one of the best 4 bowling attacks in the world.
Yeah, but they certainly have been a bit toothless of late.
They're getting on a bit, aren't they? Stark, is he getting a little bit old in the tooth?
Yeah, he is, and he's changing his accent, like you said. And I think on munchies, I'm not sure. The reality is these guys have got 20 or 30 million in their bank accounts now. They're sitting on massive houses playing golf. They're losing their mojo. Now that Pat Cummins has bought a $9.5 million house in Australia, and his wife's there, he's starting to brood. It looks like he's having some kids. You watch, he'll start to lose interest too. You watch. They've been paid for money.
There's a comment here. Sorry, we've been ignoring the comments, guys. I'm so sorry.
That's right. It's your first go at this. We want to hear you talk.
Oh, well, Shay Manu, I love the way he writes in capitals all the time. He doesn't need to. It's only because I've got my glasses on. He says England should play Anderson, Wokes, Ollie Robinson and Mark Wood in the first test. Right? Yeah. No chance of that. One, because they won't drop Broad at his home ground. And bear in mind, he bowled out the Aussies not that long ago. Broad will play in that first test. I've got, and they won't have the guts to drop Anderson because they just won't. They won't have that will take too much courage to do that. So they've got Broad and Anderson will play. Chris Wokes, I know it's only against Sri Lanka, but I've got to tell you, Norman, Chris Wokes was stunning.
Was he?
I mean, he's hardly played any cricket for the last year because of this rotation crap that we've been having. But
he's an underrated all-rounder. He can bat too.
All I can tell you was against Sri Lanka, he was making the ball sing. He bowled something like in the first one doing test, he bowled six maidens or something out of 10 overs. So like 10 overs, 6 maidens, 4 for 10 or something. And it was doing all sorts. He was. Yeah,
he should be the one he should be in the test side.
So I would imagine that they will go in with Wokes because, of course, he adds to the batting. He got a test 100 2 years ago or a year ago. I would think Broad, Anderson, Wokes, probably not Robinson, because they'll probably go with Wood for the pace, and because Stokes is in anyway. Yeah. So it wouldn't surprise me that if they don't play a spinner again, it's going to be a tough call, that.
But yeah, if they're going to have a spinner, is it going to be who? Bess?
No, it'll be Leach.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I don't think it's necessarily bad for England to go over without a spinner, to be honest. Against India, you're playing into Punt's hands to bowl a spinner. I'll tell you.
I'm a traditionalist. I like to see an all-round side with a spinner in it, because if it goes to day 4 and 5, what should happen is the wicket should start taking spin. I mean, it should.
Yeah, but against anyone else but India. That's my only thought.
Yeah, but even if it is turning, India aren't just not going to lose wickets against spin.
But you see, if there's any strength that India have got, when a spinner is against them, unless they're damn good, they're going to go.
Yeah. We'll talk about Punt another day. Let's talk about Punt. Let's hold him for. If you invite me on again, I'll tell you what.
You come on again. You're coming on again for sure. You've got truckloads of times on. I actually want you and your son on at the same time.
Well, he won't come on with me because.
Really?
Yeah, I make him look too. I'm much better looking than him, and.
I'm going to replay that. I'm going to replay that comment.
Far more intelligent. Shelman, I keep on Shelman Manu. It's not because I'm ignoring everyone else. Joe Root.
Munchie's still commenting as well. He's still.
Yeah, well, Munchie knows nothing about anything. I wouldn't worry about him. Joe Root won't make the 2020 squad.
Why?
The game's moved on. We're playing in the UAE, which means the pitches are a bit slower, maybe a bit stickier, which would suit Root. Where does he get into that top England order? Have you seen England?
But he's kind of that backbone that they could need if they're falling. We can fall.
Okay, put it this way. I'll put it this way to you, Norman. The only slot available is if you drop Milan.
No, Milan's got to stay in there.
Well, then you're not dropping Butler or Roy.
Why is Milan not playing more Test cricket?
Well, I think he will play. But hold on. So the England 2020 batting order, right, is Butler, Roy, Bairstow, Morgan, Stokes, Milan. I know it's the wrong top 6. Which one of those you dropping to bring Joe Root?
Oh, it's pretty hard to drop any of those, I'll tell you.
Well, they're not.
Yeah.
Because it's just not going to happen. No, Morgan's the one who's at danger for the batting. The problem is he's the greatest captain we've had in modern era. And he's absolutely brilliant.
So explain to me how he could play for Ireland and also England. I don't get that.
There's we've got a reciprocal deal because of the Ireland weren't a test playing association. They were just an association then. They didn't have test status or one-day status, I think.
Right.
And because we're basically with the same island, aren't we? I know there is.
No, but I mean, don't you think it would have been better for world cricket if Alan Morgan had stayed with Ireland and may have brought their cricket up to another level?
But he wouldn't have done it, would it? He came over and he chose to he qualified and played for England.
No, fair enough. I don't know. I just think that would have been good.
Status. We've had a few Irish and Scottish who've played for England over the years, and Welsh,
and Australians.
Yeah, and Australians. You're not. Don't give me that. Don't give me that, Norman. Where's Labuschagne come from? Your great number 1 batsman in the world. He's not Australian.
Labuschagne, yeah. I don't. Yeah. I mean, all right. But you had Pattinson's brother.
Yeah.
Explain that to me. How did James Pattinson's brother play for England and the other brother play for Australia?
Because he wanted to.
It is a bit funny that 2 brothers can play for 2 countries. That doesn't make sense.
I'm not a massive fan of it, but look, someone's going to come on and tell me that Sam Curran isn't English. He's been here since he was a boy. You know, they've been here. There has to be I'm not a fan of a guy coming over, at 21, having played for another country and then qualifying and playing for a different country. But if you come over when you're a teenager and you relocate or you serve a long period. Graham Hick did 7 years qualification back in the day. Had to serve 7 years before he could play for England. I think that's fair dude. But I'm definitely not a fan if you've played for another test country. I mean,
Peterson, Andrew Strauss.
Because
I keep naming. You got Ben Stokes, who's a New Zealander.
Talking nonsense, aren't you? It depends what you clarify. Ben Stokes' mother's English, isn't she? Or mother's English.
He was born in New Zealand.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter where they're born, does it?
It should.
where you're born. So if I had both my parents are English and my whole family's English, and they have a one year job out in India, and I'm born in India, and then I move back to England, you're saying I'm Indian.
Well, then you'd be called Viraj Vernon.
Yeah, it's the same argument with Archer, isn't it? I think his mother or his father, they're English. He's English.
No, it's just a bit of fun. It's
yeah,
a bit
no,
of fun.
absolutely. But you had Kepler Vessels, for God's sake. You played Test cricket.
But he went back. He went back. He went back.
But he played Test cricket for another country. That's
Well, he played Test cricket for
South Africa.
He played for Australia first. He didn't
Yeah.
play for, and then he played for South Africa after.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did.
Ashwani Rani at Banstead.
He keeps asking me the question. What question was?
Who was the biggest match winner for England? This is obviously for England. Botham, Hintoff, and Stokes. You can't look. I grew up with Ian Botham. I was born in the 60s, and so 1981, I was 14 years old when Ian Botham did that, and it was stunning. I mean, crikey! I know the Aussies were weak because of Packer.
Can you believe how lucky was Botham though? He roomed with Viv Richards for most of his teenage years.
Yeah. And he was.
Those two are thick as thieves.
Ian Botham was a match winner. There's no doubt. He was a character. He was a great player.
But I'll tell you what. You know what? If he's being honest, Ian Botham learned a lot from Viv Richards.
Yeah.
He learned a lot from Viv Richards.
Yeah.
I don't mean technique. I'm talking about attitude. And nothing can beat me. He learned that from Viv Richards. I've got no doubt. Viv Richards was his mentor, no doubt.
Yeah, I'm absolutely sure. But the biggest match winner, Ben Stokes, will go down in history, won't he? You can't deny that he won against Australia last Ashes here. Won the great innings of world cricket ever. I know a lot of our watchers won't have seen necessarily what it was, but Norman, you would have seen it. He scored 2 of 70 balls or 60 balls at the start of that innings, and then scored his last 80 or 40 balls or 70 or 40 balls at the end, and put on 80 with Jack Leach. Jack Leach won. Yeah. And if you need to see, if people are watching haven't seen the...
So, okay, was Ben Stokes' performance better than Ian Botham or on par?
Better. Ben
Stokes better than Ian Botham?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a big call.
Better. And what Stokes did in the World Cup final as well, guided us to victory there, was awesome. I mean, that was a tight old game, that was, and he stuck it in. And I know the 4 overthrows, but that's just one of those things that happens in cricket. You can't blame the player or anyone. That just was...
I'll give you a comment here. This is my little summation, by the way, and I agree with Anshma. Right? That's true. And you get Nalakshi further down. Not what Nalakshi said somewhere else further down. What did she say? She said,
I'll put the glasses on next time because I can only read.
Nalakshi also said, she agrees. There you go.
You've got to remember about Munchie is that he's a fat old fart and he doesn't know anything about anything. He sounded good though. I mean, that's why he's a Munchie. Yeah.
You know what? One thing that didn't work was his background. He had this halo going around his head.
I know.
He's better having a normal background. He doesn't need that.
Brain, but he doesn't really know anything. So I'll be very reluctant for you to get him on again. You may as well get that book on that you've got sat next to you on statues, whatever it was, bronze figures. You had that yesterday. As Munchie. Who is the ultimate grinder batsman? Oh, there's only one.
Ultimate grinder?
Oh, it's just the last question, Ismuk. So I can tell you absolutely from statistically, I think the slowest ever 100 was by Mark Greatbatch, I think, from New Zealand.
But he wasn't like that, though. He wasn't like that.
But I think he scored the
slowest
100. But the ultimate grinder was a bloke called Chris Tavares.
Oh, Tavares by far. Chris Tavares by far.
I met Chris Tavares.
Absolutely.
A while ago. He coaches cricket in Kent at Sevenoaks School. And he's a very nice, very quiet man, If he was watching, I'd say, hi, Chris Tavares. But boy, Oh, geez, could he cry? Oh, was he boring as a
How
batsman?
many tests did he play?
Loads. Well,
Did he play loads?
I bet he played 30 test matches. He must have done. Oh boy, God, did he grind it? I'd love to see what his strike rate was.
Well, I'll tell you what, but definitely the most annoying was Boycott. Oh my God, he was annoying. He was for Australians. He was bloody annoying.
Here's one for the listeners or the watchers. Jeff Boycott got dropped from the Test team, having scored 274 not out, and got dropped because he batted too slowly. He absolutely got dropped for no other reason that he took him about 3 days. When
he was dogged. He was dogged as all hell. He was. I think Tavray was certainly the slowest, but Boycott was the most annoying.
Yeah,
he annoyed other sides so much.
Came into the Test team. He came in against Australia in '77, I think, for a couple of tests, and then they went on tour and they played that winter in New Zealand, and there was a run chase set up where the first 2 innings rain affected, and England had to go out in the 3rd innings and score quick runs. They were well in front, some quick runs to set up a declaration. And after 8 or 9 overs, England were 2 without loss. Jeffrey Boycott going, get past that. You can't get past that one, can you? Right?
I remember 2010 Ashes at Brisbane. The first morning, the first lunch, I'm on a big white cloth table in the media room. First of all, Jeff Boycott was the first person there. He and I were chatting away. Then Ian Botham came and sat down. Michael Holding. Then we had Peter Roebuck and me and some other guy, I don't remember, some Indian guy. We were sitting there. It was the best conversation I've ever had. Could you imagine first lunch of the first day of a Test series, an Ashes Test series? You got Botham, Holding, and what's his name? Boycott, as well as Peter Roebuck. You know who was the most intellectual on that table? Peter Roebuck. He was amazing. He was so good. Such an insightful guy.
He was a friend of Ian Botham's, and they fell out, didn't they? And Roebuck moved to Australia, didn't he?
Yeah.
I think Roebuck wrote a biography on Botham, and then they had a big... Let me go back to that New Zealand story quickly, Norman.
Yeah.
So we're trying to set up a run chase. Boycott's blocking the shit out of it because he's Boycott. And Ian Botham got told to go at number 3, and he got told to run him out. And Ian Botham said, I can't. I'm in my 3rd test. That's Boycott. That's the great Jeffrey Boycott out there. He's God. Well, he's God to himself. So he went in, number 3, and he ran Boycott out. He went, yes, no, oh, sorry, Jeff. And Boycott apparently wasn't happy about all this. Apparently, Botham says he walked past and, what have you done? What have you done? You've run me out. I'm Boycott. I'm Jeffrey Boycott. You've run me out. And apparently in the dressing room, they're all laughter, falling around the floor laughing because Botham's literally stitched him up like a kipper. And in his 3rd test, Botham had to do that. Imagine that happening these days. Sending somebody out to run someone out.
That's funny.
Yeah, unbelievable. True story, apparently. So yeah.
Just one other point with that break time. So I'm talking to Peter Roebuck. He's got a fascination with Sri Lanka. We're having a good chat. Around the corner comes Mark Nicholas, and he goes straight to Peter Roebuck in his ear, and I'm listening.
Yeah.
He goes, Peter, what's your take on the first day's play? Tell me quickly. Tell me. So Peter Roebuck gave a rendition, blah, blah, blah. And then Mark Nicholas was listening to every single word. Then he went away. Then I listened to what was said. And Mark Nicholas basically learnt what Roebuck told him and said it exactly as if it was his own words, but they were all Peter Roebuck's words. And that I went to Peter at the next break after 2 hours and said, geez, you know what happened? You heard that. He used every single word you said. Yes, no, I'm used to it. It happens every game. But Mark Nicholas would regularly go up to Peter Roebuck, get whatever take he had on the game, and go straight out there and pretend that was his own words.
You're not
that
a fan,
annoyed me.
Nicholas, are you? I think he's a good commentator. Excuse me. I think I like him as a commentator.
Nicholas.
Yeah, I think he does well.
Yeah, but doesn't that taint your thoughts if you know he's taking every single word from someone else?
I guess, but having had this conversation with you today, Norman, I'm going to be going out and I'm going to be using all your wise words and Gil's wise words to make myself look impressive. You know,
but hang on. But you could what he should have done was, I just spoke to Peter Roebuck, and Peter Roebuck said blah. Then it would have been good. I would have respected that, but he didn't do that. He just used it verbatim, and that's wrong.
Yeah. Let's get to some questions because you're gonna want to wrap up soon, aren't you?
Yeah, sure. So soon we'll wrap up.
I'm fine, but I know that you've been going a long time.
No, we're gonna be here. Sunil Gavaskar or Jeff Boycott? Oh, that's a good question. That's a very good question.
Oh, Sonny Gavaskar was a lovely player.
You'd have to say so.
Lovely player.
And against who he bowled against him, the West Indies at their peak, and he was only 5 foot nothing.
Yeah,
pretty good effort, really.
You've got to give. I mean, Boycott gets a lot of stick, doesn't he? But he scored 100 hundreds, first class hundreds. I don't know how many in tests, but he scored. I mean, crikey, it's a different game. We're looking back. I mean, a lot of people who are on here won't have been alive to watch Test cricket in the 70s that we were. But it was a different game then. You know, a first day, 230 in the first day was a good score.
Yeah.
You know,
it was really the bowlers were more impressive, I would say, at that time. There was a lot more good bowlers.
Well, you had uncovered wickets as well, Norman. Imagine playing on uncovered wickets in the 60s against some of those bowlers.
Well, look, go back to Bradman's era, for God's sake. The Bodyline series, the way he handled it, the guy, and people say that Bradman can be compared to now. Rubbish. If Bradman was around now, he would adapt. He would adapt.
Of course he would. Yes, you can't have that hand-eye coordination and see the ball like that. There's no doubt
Larwood was his butt off. He would have been out there and he would have been handling it now.
Of course, Larwood was bowling at 90 miles an hour. There's no doubt. I don't know. I mean, they didn't have a speed gun on it, but there's no doubt Larwood was bowling as fast as that. So Bradman could cope with this pace and he would have adapted his game accordingly because...
And he still averaged over 50 with the Bodyline.
Stats do not lie. Bradman is further away than anyone else in any other sport, I would imagine. If you compare the greats in any sport ever played, the furthest ahead as a single player must be Don Bradman of anyone else.
And that says a lot about Bradman was the best sports person ever in any sport with any statistics. And if you speak to Jack Nicklaus or Michael Jordan, you ask them who was the best sports person ever, they would all say Don Bradman because they all know about him. They all know about how good he was. They compare and they respect his results and what he did in the time that he did it. I mean, Babe Ruth was another of that era, but they all say that by far Bradman was the best sports person ever. Michael Jordan, none of those guys were under any illusion that they're better than Bradman. And if you take that into account, going to 52 Shepherd Street, where Bradman spent his formative years, you wait until you experience that. The man, Andrew Levy, who has owned that house for 14 years, has brought it back to its original quality. You'll be spellbound by the place. It's amazing. It's the mecca of sport anywhere in the world, that building. No doubt.
Shale Manu asked me who I'll be supporting in the 100. I haven't analysed a lot of the teams because, I mean, I'm a Surrey boy by birth. I mean, don't know if that means anything to anyone watching, which means I'll be the Oval is one of the teams are based at the Oval, aren't they? South London, whatever they are.
Is it the Oval Invincibles? What's it called? The women's team's called the Oval.
Yeah, whatever it is. The Surrey set up. I'll tell you what, whoever Alex Stewart's involved with, I was very, very fortunate enough to play a game with Alex Stewart and met Alex Stewart. And he is a big sporting hero for me as a human being and as an England cricketer. The leading Test run scorer in the decade of the 1990s by volume of runs was Alex Stewart.
And Alex Stewart did it in a manner. He was not the best player in the world.
He wasn't. He was a
grafter,
keeper who worked on his game to become a very competent wicket keeper, and then he kept wicketing up the batting a lot of the times. He tried doing that. Tried doing.
And it was his dad who played Test cricket as well, wasn't it?
Mickey Stewart played Test cricket as well. I think Alex Stewart is fantastic. I'm a big fan. So whoever Alex Stewart's the Oval, I'm a Surrey boy. So going back a few years.
Bradman's question about Bradman's average in today's era it would have been 99.94 over all over again. I'm pretty sure he would have worked his way up to last big. He was very hard to get out. But he was, if you see that last innings when he got a duck, he looked so nervous. He didn't leave his crease. The bowling was pretty average. And who was the batter who was batting with Bradman when he did his last innings?
It was, I know who it was. It wasn't Neil Harvey, was it?
No, it was Arthur Morris.
Arthur Morris.
And he scored 170 in that match and didn't need Australia to bat a second time. Hence, Bradman couldn't bat again. And I had a chat with Arthur Morris before he passed away about all this. It was the most amazing conversation to hear Arthur Morris talk about him being in a pub, I don't know, 10, 20 years after that last match of Bradman, and all these gentlemen saying, well, I was at this place when I watched that happen. I was there, I was there. And they turned to Arthur Morris and go, where were you? Like they all had all big stories. And Arthur said, I was at the other end. And their jaws dropped because they had all these big stories about where they were and blah, blah, blah. They couldn't beat that story, I tell you.
No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Put some questions up, Norman. Put some questions up. Get some questions on the screen. Let's upset.
Okay, all right.
Someone asked a controversial question, I can upset them.
I mean, fine commentator. I'm not a big Harsha Bogley fan, to be honest.
He's okay. I don't mind him.
He's okay, but
they've missed the best ones, haven't they? I mean, crikey, Ian Smith surely is
he's great.
Best in the world, isn't he, at the moment? Ian Smith, I like a lot. We've just had Jeremy Coney over here because New Zealand are bringing over here, and he does the radio summarising commentary. He's very good. Yeah. I like him a lot, Jeremy Coney. Jim Maxwell, commentators. He's talking TV commentators here. I like
Richie Benno. We can't go past it. He's not alive anymore, but Richie Benno certainly was.
Richie Benno was. Yeah, I mean, we've had a few over the years. Go on, you have to read that. I can't. My glasses aren't good enough.
Okay, so Ashwani runners. There's a lot of contenders. Jahal, Serena, Sundar. These are the future players for their country. There's quite a few. Look, India's got about 100 they can pick from, to be honest.
Yeah, Sundar is a talent, but his bowling's not up to it.
Yeah, but I think he can develop that, though. He can develop that.
I've seen a lot about Shadul on the comments as we've been chatting away. No chance. Might do it in India.
You don't think so?
No, he might do it in India on a few sand pits that they prepare, but he's not gonna take any wickets in Australia, South Africa, England, is he?
But Shadul Thakur played very well in that last test.
Am I got the wrong guy? It's Thakur's the seamer, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I'm thinking of the spinner. I'm thinking of the spinner they played a couple of.
Akshar Patel.
No, they played another one.
Washington Sundar.
Another
one. Yeah, another one. Yeah, I've got his name.
There was a lot of thing about getting him in the side in the last Test series, and he should play.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. No, we're not talking about him.
And he was no chance. I don't think.
Is he Munchie? No, that's not Munchie. That's Chris Vernon's dad, Richard Vernon.
Munchie
was on earlier
than me. I like to say, Amaya. Crikey, yeah. Munchie is 20 foot wide and 25 stone heavier than me, and about 10 years older than me. Please, please. And he can't walk anymore. His knees are both gone. He's on crutches half the time.
That's the name, Shahbaz Nadeem. That's the guy that we were talking about.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm going to upset him. Yeah.
No, we're not talking about him. But Shadul Thakur and Washington Sundar, the way they came in and handled that Test match at the Gabba was priceless.
Awesome.
Really.
The whole world.
They scored runs. They did a great job.
The whole world was cheering you on to lose. We were. The whole of England was cheering on Australia to get beat there.
But Australia didn't lose. India won.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Australia were by no means poor. They was beaten by a better side. Yeah. Simple as that. All right, let's have a look at our time here. We've gone a fair whack of time. We've done great. And because you're like me, I could talk for another couple of hours. I love talking, as you know. So, all right. Well, thank you very much, Richard. I find this It's better than even I imagined it being. I was really excited about having you on.
Only when
You've done
Munchie
even
was
better.
on.
Sorry?
Only when Munchie was on, it was better.
Both you and Munchie have been, you've got passion, enthusiasm, knowledge. You're interesting to listen to. Very good perspective, and it's great. It's only going to grow. So you have to let me know how we're going to work this, because Chris has told me he's coming in, I think Thursday or Friday. He's going to do a session with me. Maybe because he's fearing you might take over. I'm not sure, but we'll get. Do you want to be on? Do you want to be on with Munchie? Is that the way you'd like to work it?
I don't know. If you're sure it's someone to come and be on.
Well, you'll be on regularly. I'll tell you, because
people are happy.
But in particular for the series between England and India and the Ashes, there's some massively World Cup. You name it. You let me know when you got time. You're on. Okay.
I'm available most days, Norman. At the time we did today is a good time for me. 12:30 is a very, very good time any day, really.
Okay, well that's perfect.
My work wise, I'm usually back home.
Well, you need to think of a topic that you want to. If you've got a certain axe to grind or a certain thing you want to get across or a perspective you want to talk about,
absolutely.
Get something ready and then tell me, and we'll thumbnail it accordingly.
Rishabh Slogger and he's not one of the best players in the world. There you go. Next time I'm on it, who's going to come in and dispute that with me?
Oh, you tell me. We'll get it happening.
I want people to tell me on the messages after this video is posted, on the messages that you can put on afterwards. I want Indian people to tell me why Rishabh Pant isn't a slogger.
All right.
Anyway,
I'll
answer every comment.
As Rishabh Pant just a slogger?
Yeah,
we'll put that on there.
Exactly right. Is he? No, he is just a slogger. Not is he? He is just a slogger.
That's your point of view.
He won't score a run. He won't score. He'll get some runs because he'll slog a quick 20 or 30. He won't average above 25 this Test series. There you go.
Oh,
yeah.
All right.
And if I'm wrong, I'll come in and take my hat off and show you my terrible haircut.
Well, thanks. You've been fantastic. Really appreciate this. It's well worth it, and we're going to do more of it. One of many. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you
and
very
I can
much.
only apologise to all the questions that came up, Norman. We really didn't answer a lot of them, did we? So I can only apologise.
This was because it was your time to talk. We weren't just answering questions. You did a great job.
I can't see now.
There is one. Okay, this question you can answer. That's your last question to answer. Go for it.
I can't.
One story about Bradman when Mandela came out of jail after many years. His first question was Bradman still alive? That's intriguing.
Yeah, it's hardly a question. There's one come up. Right, Pat needs to develop his Test batting. Oh, Ashwani Rana, we're going to agree. It's just come up on the question. Yeah, he does. He does. He can't do what he did in the World Test Championship when it was important and just go and have a slog at it.
But he could have clicked in it and he could have won the match. That would have been a story to tell.
But he didn't, Norman. He had a slog at it and gone out. That's no good, is it? Of course he could have done. Of course he could have. He could have slogged it away and won the game, and they would have won. Brilliant. Well done him. But he didn't. You can only be judged.
Fair enough.
What the scorebook says. You know.
I still reckon you'll be eating your words. I reckon he's going to do pretty well in this Test series. You watch. I'm a Pant fan.
I'll eat this.
Don't you dare eat that cap. Eat one of your one of your son's caps.
It's only a cheap thing. Look, it's a cheap thing.
And eat one of your son's caps. He's got plenty. All right. Thanks a lot for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for being
one of many times you'll be on.
Thanks, Norman. I'm going to sign off. Thanks for having me, my friend. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you. Wasn't that great? Wasn't that superb? Barnstead boy, we got Richard Vernon, you got Munchie, even had Gill on there. What a great session, guys. I'm very, very proud of that. It was wonderful. I'm so glad I'm having Chris watches this too. What a lovely bunch of people. I really enjoyed that immensely. It's been fantastic. Really, really good. All right, guys. I think we've got to now finish up time. So don't forget, you got my Instagram and my Twitter handles there. You've got questions you've been asking. Great. Don't forget to, if you like and share the posts, subscribe. And that's one of the things I'm disappointed about. People are watching this show today who have not subscribed. I want you to please go in there, log in, subscribe, and share, and get others to subscribe so we can grow this channel. Okay, that's your job to do, guys. So thank you very much for your time. Just going up, waiting for this to open up. But yeah, don't forget, we've got to make sure that we give everybody a chance to watch the show, but please subscribe. If any of you people online right now haven't subscribed, like I think the first name's Sachin, I haven't seen you before there, please go in and subscribe and make it worthwhile for me to be able to grow this channel more and get more support for the channel, because that's what's very, very important. Our numbers are, we're pretty well there for a while, but we just need to keep growing. All right, I'm just trying to, okay, here we go. Comments, just checking. So that's okay. All right, so we've just about done, guys. Thank you very much. Thanks for the stream. My pleasure, Xbox. In the future, you can be a part of it. What are your views? All round as being captain. We'll answer quickly. All round as being captain at Stokes, Jamison, and Camp Green. They certainly can be. But both of them tried it and didn't work. So maybe it's not always the best solution. All right, but keep those questions coming. We'll talk. Thank you, Bar Said Boy, for finishing with the comment. Thank you again. Wonderful show. Keep talking. Keep asking questions. But don't forget, in the comments line after, Richard Punt is a slogger? Question mark. You were going to answer your thoughts on that. That's what Bar Said Boy wanted. So we just get that going. We can just check that. Let's put that question in. It'll be very nice to have that question on. All right. All right, Robert, thank you very much for your time. Do you think Australia will play Sanger in the Ashes? No, they won't play him in the Ashes. Probably after that, he'll come on. That's right. But watch out for his play. He could sneak in. But I don't think he's in the actual situation at the moment. Let's just go there. All right, guys. We'll say goodbye for now. We'll talk soon again. All the best.